podcast, everyone. Today
It's the Rito!
Jesus Christ. So this week, we're going over what we've been playing,
Hell yeah, we are!
as well as the topic of the week, which is Pikmin, as we've discussed a couple weeks now.
Oh, I've played as Pikmin for 2 weeks straight.
So,
That's all I've done!
as per usual, with me today I have Will,
Hi!
Jaeger,
Yo.
and we have a new guest, Greg.
What's up?
So, Greg, do you want to start off the cast by explaining a little bit about yourself, maybe some of the games you like?
Yo, what are your credentials?
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
How are you allowed to stand on the same pedestal as us?
Well, let me
Besides Mario
explain-
Maker prowess.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty bad Mario Maker.
Yeah, we just watched you blow through 40 lives to beat 2 levels.
Hey, 20 lives per level? Perfect.
We were on
That's-
expert.
That's true.
That's
We were
true.
an expert.
Experts hell on earth.
So yeah,
Um,
please give us your video gaming resume, all your credentials, everything that would qualify you to talk about video games
We'll look 'em over
in the
and
way
just
that
throw 'em in
us
the shredder.
three
Well,
are.
I started on the N64 era,
Huh,
pretty
nice.
much. At least that's where my most memories came from.
What was
First,
your
Just
first
like
game?
everybody.
first game was Excite Bike.
Jeez, the 64 one?
No.
What?
Well,
There was a
okay.
64 one?
Yeah.
My first game was Excite Bike, but what I grew up with
Was N64.
was N64. I was like
Did you play the
3-year-old when I
N64
played
Excite Bike's a
Bike.
game, not a
What?
system.
Is there?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain there's a N64 Excite Bike.
I
Pretty
don't
sure you're
know.
pulling your phone
It's-
out of your
I'm
pocket to Google it.
fairly certain
It's
it's
not-
really bad, too.
It's not as well known as the original.
It's
though.
like
Okay.
Mega Man 64.
I have
Legends.
no idea.
It's
that
coming to
they have
PSN
one.
next week.
So yeah, that's Greg.
Yeah,
Anything else you want to say about yourself?
really big Smash Bros. Fan.
Big Nintendo fan?
Big Nintendo fan. Probably what I prefer. I
Wow,
also do-
bringing a lot of diversity.
I
I
know,
also
right?
play PC games.
Nice.
Wow, bringing a lot of diversity.
Yeah, so we brought Greg onto the cast because he's played Pikmin before, and
Yeah, he's a residential
as Burks
Pikmin
brought
expert.
up, as Burks brought up before, our second half of the podcast, we're going to be talking about in depth. We're going to be talking about Pikmin.
Because
Yeah.
we all
Me,
played it.
Burke, and Will played through it all in the past 2 weeks, so it's pretty fresh in our minds, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing
And,
it just before I came.
Yeah, I literally beat it
I was
on Monday.
beating it like 3
I
hours
planned
ago.
to beat it yesterday. I ended up beating it Monday.
Yeah.
'cause it was a lot
So it's
shorter than I
really
thought it would be.
fresh.
It's super
And
fresh.
we're going to have a great discussion
Freshest.
about it. But
We
first,
are.
guys, what have you been up to this week? Burke, what have you been playing? Or doing, or whatever.
Don't you dare say Pikmin.
Shit.
Don't do it.
I've been playing Mario Maker.
I think we could all have a nice discussion about that, since we've all just got a little first-hand, like, hour and a half play of it.
Mario Maker was a game. It came out. At first, I was kind of questionable about getting it because it was kind of up in the air. But thanks to, shockingly, Nintendo's like surprisingly well done ads and stuff on YouTube and all over the place, I actually ended up buying it. 'Cause it
So what
looked
you're
really
saying is
cool.
the advertising worked on you.
They actually advertised,
Propaganda,
yeah,
100%.
How much did it cost?
$60,
Oh my god.
as most games do.
But like, why?
Endless play.
Pretty much. So they actually said that starting now, 2D Mario, they're looking to take a different turn. So this is kind of like, here's what 2D Mario used to be. Make whatever you want. I don't
It's
know.
the
how
end-all,
different-
be-all, because
yeah.
you can't really have, like, another Mario Wii U, like a new Super Mario Bros., because they would just,
Yeah.
like, we've been there and done that before.
Like 5 times.
Can
4
you
times.
play all of the original Mario games within the game?
They have select levels from certain Mario games. People also go through and make them like Mario levels,
Right.
redo it.
That was one thing I was kind of surprised about. It doesn't actually have, like, a strong, like a campaign, you know? Like a single-player
It
campaign.
sort of does.
I think that's why I
Not
was
in the same way,
confused.
like, other games kind of like this. Like, when Little Big Planet came out, it had, like, a strong single-player campaign on top of all the other stuff that Mario Maker seems to be offering.
Well, this one, it has something called 10 Mario mode, which is it gives you 8 levels made
Yeah,
made by creators
Yeah.
of the game.
Yeah, it's their
Oh,
levels,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
But Little Big Planet actually had, like, a story and, like a campaign.
not the other people playing Mario.
You know, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
People from Nintendo.
Yeah, people from Nintendo, people from one of the guys from Rayman, the person who came up with Rayman, I forget his name, French dude. He made it. He made
I
a
don't
level.
remember.
One of the people from Metroid, not the guy that made Metroid because he's dead now, but one of the
Rip.
people from the Metroid team made one. They just got a bunch of different people to come make one. So those ones are pretty alright. I've only gone through it like 2 or 3 times. So there's that. But so basically Mario Maker is broken up into two things, Mario and making.
It's like a PB&J. You just slap them together.
Yeah, exactly. So
It costs $60.
It's a damn good sandwich.
It better be.
I guess I'll focus on the
It's
making
a chunky peanut butter.
at the very beginning.
No.
The making's sort of interesting. I've only made two
Sort
levels.
of.
It's pretty
The
interesting.
meat and the potatoes of the game.
Well, one's the meat, the other's the potatoes.
I'm a
No, they're both
vegetarian.
meat.
They're both
One's
potatoes.
tofu, one's meat.
So basically, how it works is, I kind of hate how they do it at the very beginning. Basically, they give you like 10 items, and they're like, all right, make some stuff with this. And how they originally did it was, every day you'd get like another set, but then during the reviews, people complained about how that was annoying and kind of restricted them. So they changed it to, after you place a certain amount of blocks, you get another set. So pretty much the first like hour of me playing this game was me just spamming blocks all across the board to unlock all the sets, which is really annoying. I wish they kind of just started with all the sets. But their idea, I guess, was try and focus on what you have and try and master what you could do with these. Which I have heard
Makes sense instead of totally overwhelming you with like.
that was their idea, and I've heard some people say it actually has helped them, but I personally found it.
I kind of like that idea. Like, here's some tools, like master these before you can go on to the
Yeah.
next set.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty standard thing in video games. Like, when you start, your character isn't fully upgraded the way that it is at the end of the game. It's like, here, figure out how to run and jump and shoot and, like, do the basic things, and, like, then you can tack on stuff after that. So
the making system's actually really well done, I think. It's missing a few things. Like, my biggest gripe is that it doesn't have checkpoints, which would be amazing for it. Besides that, it's pretty much got, like, all of the different block forms. It's got a bunch of different enemies from games, especially even enemies that weren't in those games. So you can do like the classic Mario with like wigglers. You can do 7 or 8 different areas. You have like ghost house, underwater, standard, castle, some other stuff. Maybe there's only 6, but you have all those. You have
do you mean like those are all the backgrounds?
Yeah,
right?
and they also
From the
decide
original
the
Mario
music.
levels?
Yeah,
and
it's the
also,
environments.
And castle levels also come with lava on the bottom as well. So there's those. You have Bowser. You have Bowser Jr. You just have pretty much like a bunch of utilities to use at your hand, which is really cool. One of the best things about it is that it's just like super easy to use. You literally click on something and put it where you want it to go. It's no like, I don't know. I've heard people complain that like, I've never played Little Big Planet, but I've heard people say that it's the creation system and that is a little bit complicated, and that kind of turns some people off.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do. In
Yeah,
Little Big
it's
Planet.
it's can be very, very simple, but it also can be really, really in depth.
Yeah.
And once you go past, I guess to explain it, in Little Big Planet, it's like you've got the really basic stuff, the simple level creation, and then maybe like something a little bit above that, a little bit more in depth. But then the jump is like, if you want to do anything beyond that, it's complicated. You know what I mean? There isn't really a middle ground.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty complicated. So this one's like super easy to use. Pretty much anyone can do it. Not that anyone should do it, but anyone can do it.
That's the biggest lesson that I've learned. It's kind of what I expected.
Anyone
to be honest.
can, but not everyone should.
Yeah. One of my favorite aspects about the Maker, though, is that you have the ability to play through the level, and then when you die or stop or pause or whatever, you have a little ghost that shows where Mario's movement went.
That's
So you
kind of
can
cool.
perfectly track where to put stuff based on like how far he jumped. So if you want to put something like the max jump distance, you can just see the arc of the Marios and then just put the block there. So
Nice.
that's really cool. Besides that, there's not much too more to the Maker. You can pretty much do whatever. You can put enemies inside of question blocks if you wish. You can put turrets on top of Bowser. You can put 4 Bowsers on top of Bowser.
The best is stacking enemies.
Yeah, you
I
can
love
stack
that.
enemies. Yeah, it gets pretty crazy.
I'm mostly interested in 4 Bowsers on top of a Bowser.
Yeah,
That sounds like a lot.
I've seen
I'm more of a 5 Bowser kind of guy.
2
myself.
Bowser chain
Can't blame
chomp,
you.
2 Bowser chain chomp, bullet bill that's shooting
One of
magic
the
Koopas.
Yeah, one of the first experiences I ever saw with it was just like 4 Bowsers all holding chain chomp posts, and they're like flying at you with wings. Like it's
beautiful.
crazy.
So the Maker, I think, is really well done. And then the playing aspect is also really interesting. So there's a couple different ways you can play. Like we said before, there's the pre-made levels by the creators that you can play, and they change day to day. But I think the meat of it is where you go online and play other people's levels. And how it's done online is you can choose 100 Mario Run, and there's 4 different difficulties in that, being normal, which is you only play through 8 levels, or sorry, easy, you play through 8 levels, and they're easy. Most of them are literally just run straight, flag. Nothing in between.
Sounds like a good way to spend your time.
Oh, it is. There's normal, which is generally about 50% completion. Those are the ones I prefer because they're actually like doable and they're somewhat challenging at the same time. And then those are you do 18 in a row, and then or maybe 16 in a row. And then there's expert, which is like 10%, maybe less than 5% completed. And those are the ones you saw, whereas literally just like death after death after death.
I guess my question is, are there impossible ones? Can you run across ones that you just can't do? Or
No,
is there
okay.
a program in the code that makes it so that there has to be
When
one?
you make your
mentioned
level,
that,
you have
yeah.
to like beat it
You have to beat
yourself
it, yeah.
before you can put it online.
Yep.
Ah.
So that was pretty well done, I thought.
That's a very simple thing that definitely is good to be in there.
Yeah, like, you can't beat your own level.
I just remember there was in Far Cry 2 there was like an online multiplayer component.
Mario Maker.
And it was a little
Far Cry
clunky.
Maker?
Far Cry Maker. But yeah, you could make your own map, yeah. And
Kinda
it was
like
kind of
that.
cool. There was a lot of drag, terraforming tools and a lot of different things. You could literally make your own multiplayer map like however it is that you wanted. And it was a lot of fun, especially for when it came out. It was really cool. But I do remember that like sometimes you would just like load into one and just everybody would fall in the water. Because
Good.
there'd be nothing there and it'd be
Good.
like, well, this is dumb.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's good to know that exists.
Outside of 100 Mario Maker, you can also look up levels individually by searching. You also are given 3 different aspects, being most newest level created, highest amount of stars, which is pretty much the likes, which is unfortunate because that's generally just things that play themselves automatically. Like, you'll just bounce off a bunch of springs or something and then you'll reach the end. On top of that, there's also least amount, it's like completion rate, which is you can do it either high or low. So you can either play like 100% completed or like 0.0002% completed.
So something insanely difficult.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
just depending on like how you're feeling that morning.
I showed Jaeger this one thing, but there's a guy that used to make Mario hacks who got shut down by Nintendo, and he got Mario Maker and started making some Mario levels in this, and he made this one level that it took him 7 hours to create, 9 hours to beat, and it's got like a 0.0005% or something ridiculous.
That doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun.
It's pretty
not.
terrifying.
It was ridiculous. He like throws shells in the air and then like jumps off them as he goes, and it's insane. So, yeah. Honestly, I found Mario Maker a lot of fun. The creating aspect I haven't done too much of. I've engaged in, like I said, twice. I've had some ideas, but I unfortunately had them like while I was out, and I couldn't like remember them by the time I got home.
That's why you got to draw it on Snapchat and then send it to everybody.
Yeah, that's what I should do.
Yeah, I'll expect it.
Blueprints ?
Yeah. But I've had, like I said, I've had a lot of fun with it. I mean, playing normal levels are a lot of fun, just because some of them are actually creative, some of them are dog shit in terms of design, and some of them are just bullshit in terms of like,
We saw a lot of bullshit today.
We were playing on the expert one. People on that one make shit hard for the sake of making shit hard.
A lot of bullshit.
But it's cool that, I mean, that range is there. That something that's insanely easy that's not fun to play, or something that's so hard that it's not fun to play, and everything in between, I'm sure, is all in there, which is cool.
One last thing to mention is that there are 4... I guess I'll mention 2 things. There are 4 different Mario styles you can play. You can play Classic Mario, Mario 3, Mario World, and New Super Mario Bros. U. And each one has differences depending on which one you play. The one that I feel like gets skimped on the most is the original Mario, and I think the only big thing they have is these things called mystery mushrooms, which pretty much give Mario a skin. Which give him like you can turn into like Star Fox and have like a taunt or like
Olimar.
Or Olimar, yeah.
All the amiibos can unlock a costume.
Yeah, they can. And there's 100 costumes outside. And they have
Wow.
a really weird selection of people. Like, they had the, I don't think any of you remember who this person is, but Celeste from Animal Crossing.
Yeah. I remember her.
Blather's daughter, who sits in, like, the observatory all
I do
day.
remember Blathers, and now that you
He has
mention
a
his
pink
name.
daughter. and
Yeah, the pink owl.
I don't know why they chose her, but they chose her.
I don't know.
You can
Maybe
play
she's
as
like a main
individual-
person.
Showing characters
You
love.
can play as individual Pikmin.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's really interesting. And the last thing is that when you do create a level, you get a code that people can search that code by. And I see a lot of people on Twitter, Facebook,
It's kind of like a
all over
friend
the place.
code. Or
Exactly.
whatever, yeah.
It's like a 16-digit code. You put it in, and you get to play that person's level. And then you can also find other levels that person created by going to their Miiverse. And then, their other
That's
levels.
very cool.
So on top of when you complete a level, you can like it, you can leave a comment. Leaving a comment automatically likes it for some reason. So if you create like a bullshit level where someone dies immediately and they go to comment, they're like, "This is dumb." It's an automatic.
But it's like,
like.
yeah, but thumbs up.
Exactly. It's so strange.
This sucks. I hate it.
You're an idiot. Keep up the good work.
Good work.
Yeah.
Please continue.
It's a very strange.
Let's
way
get
to do
other
it,
people
but
to see this.
Yeah, it's really popular on Twitch if you ever want to go on and watch it. People do like ridiculous shit, but yeah, it's Mario Maker.
Good to know.
Make some stuff, jump some stuff. Swear at some stuff.
It's Mario, yep.
So, Jaeger? What are you even
Ooh, not too much, honestly.
Giving me gun fingers
Yeah.
over there?
There's a lot of
Pow, pow.
some
You
strange
are,
body
Rogers.
language going on here. So the past 2 weeks, I've been kind of busy, so I haven't really played too many new things. I got the new DLC for Shovel Knight, Plague of Shadows, which is really fucking cool. Shovel Knight, definitely one of my favorite platformers that's come out in the last... What?
Dolphin call.
Yeah, we're gonna throw a dolphin call over that F-bomb you just dropped there, Sonny.
Yeah, well, we're an explicit podcast.
Oh, Greg,
so-
there's no swearing on this podcast. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to.
We're only
just so you know.
explicit on what's it called?
So yeah, Plague of Shadows. It's got really cool music. It's a little more. I don't want to say dark, but it definitely has like a more dreary atmosphere than like the bright and colorful Shovel Knight. It's still bright and colorful, but the hints and hues are a little bit more like green and black instead of like blue and orange. I guess I would say Shovel Knight is.
How does the Plague Knight differ in terms of Shovel Knight?
Well, the main thing really is that he uses more like projectiles instead of a shovel.
Yeah.
And there's a lot less more to upgrade because it's not really like a full game. It's just like a little bonus level, an
Right.
expansion.
Oh, is it like a level or is it a couple levels?
It's it's a couple levels, handful of
Okay.
levels. It's got its own little story. It's really nice. The soundtrack, like I said, is fucking awesome. I'm blanking on the guy's name from Way Forward, or not Way Forward, from Yacht Club Games, who makes the
I mean,
the soundtrack, but he's great, and he's been making great music in
used to
all
be
of his
part of Way
games.
Forward, if that counts.
Yeah, that's what. Well, yeah, that's where I got the idea from, I guess. So besides Plague of Shadows, I've just kind of been playing Pikmin on and off, but we're gonna talk about that in the second half.
Did you like Plague of Shadows better than Shovel Knight, or is it like the same?
I mean, it's different. I mean, it's a part of Shovel Knight.
I know it is.
Yeah, I know. But, so I can't really say I liked it better or not. It was a cool expansion for sure, and I hope they keep making more.
Aren't they? Didn't they say they're gonna make like another one or two?
Oh, I hope so.
I thought they said like not almost all the bosses, but I heard like a bunch of the bosses were getting their own.
Oh, cool. That'd be awesome. I love all the bosses from Shovel Knight. I really want to see them in Smash. That'd be really cool. Because they're already making a Shovel Knight amiibo.
Yeah.
So that's going to be cool. I don't really know what it does, though. Yeah, so...
It allows you to play 2-player in Shovel Knight for the Wii U.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, right. Okay, I remember now. Yeah, that's awesome. I'd really love to try that out, but I don't have Shovel Knight for Wii U.
Me neither.
I only have it for 3DS.
I don't. It does something for 3DS too, but I forget what.
Might unlock, like, challenge mode or something.
It might, I think.
So yeah, besides that, I bought some games on 99 Gamer, which is a website where you can like trade in games and get coin currency, and then you can trade it back for other games. So I picked up a couple of random GameCube games that were really cheap. Resident Evil 0. I wanted to play through that because they're making an HD, like kind of remake of it that's coming out.
Zero is not. Wait, is 0 in the HD remake?
Oh, Capcom's making an
Oh.
HD version of
just
Resident Evil
0.
0.
Okay.
That's going to come to Steam at some point later next year. And then I also got Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2. Or Rogue...
That
Yeah,
game's
Which
so
one's that?
good.
Was that the one for the GameCube?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was the sequel to the 64 game.
Yeah.
it's very good.
Yeah. I used to have it, or I rented it from Blockbuster all the time
I
as
have
a kid.
Yeah, it's
very
one of my
vague
favorites.
memories
I've
of
played
Rogue
that game
Squadron.
like countless times.
Yeah.
It's not super long, but it's really, really good.
So this is gonna be
Yeah.
a weird question. Is that the game we played with Rob Brandon back in the olden days.
No, that was Star Wars Battlefront.
Same thing.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Similar.
I don't know
Oh
the
no,
difference.
Battlefront's way better. But like I don't know, Rogue Squadron is still unique and fun. I really don't have any like specific memories about it besides when I played it with my cousin as a kid. I rented it from Blockbuster, but I don't know, it was fun. So, and it was only like the equivalent of like $2.
So how does it play? Is it like a first-person shooter? Third-person shooter?
Well, I actually haven't
Third
played it. I
person
just got
racer.
it.
So
Yeah.
it's a sometimes linear, sometimes like it's
Open.
sort of like Star Fox.
It's like a rail shooter sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
So
said Star Fox, and I thought of Adventures because you guys
no, like the good one. But yeah,
That's
it's
all.
a lot like
Oh,
that, and
God,
then a
no.
lot of the levels are like arena battles. Basically, you fly around your X-wing or your A-wing or your Y-wing, but it's got a lot
All
of cool-
range mode.
It's exactly. It's got a lot of cool stuff where like in the middle of the battle you can fly to one of like the mothership carriers, like one of the rebel carriers, and actually dock your X-wing.
Mhm.
So, because the enemies come in waves, right? TIE fighters, TIE interceptors, bombers, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
whatever. And if, like, you're in your X-Wing and you're trying to, there's one level I'm thinking of, it's the second level, you're trying to defend this convoy that's going through a nebula, and you get a little ways into it and your X-Wing's fine, and then the next wave of enemies that comes through are TIE interceptors, which for non-Star Wars fans are like TIE fighters, but just a lot faster, and they take a little bit less damage to destroy, but are like a
Oh,
lot more maneuverable.
I actually heard some stuff about this game. Isn't there like one of the enemies is like really dark on the dark background, so it's kind of hard to see?
Yes, that does kind of happen occasionally. Black TIE fighters on black space definitely does disappear
Yeah.
sometimes. But it's cool because you
It
can
makes
dock
sense.
your plane, you dock your X-Wing and get an A-Wing, which is, a lot faster.
Uh-huh.
It's cool. It's got a lot of little touches, and it's a well-made game, and it's, if you're a big Star Wars fan, it's
It's
awesome.
a good one.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
To be fair, if I were to design a space fighter,
Yeah, you'd
thing,
want it
I
black.
would
That's
want
what
it-
I was
would make
saying.
it black.
That's what I was saying. So
Yeah,
you
just
couldn't really
good
see it.
camouflage. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I would just try to recreate the R-Wing as close as possible.
But black.
Nope. Yeah, no, actually Star Wolf's Wolfins are pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah, the Wolfin
Yeah.
2s from Assault. Those things
Yeah.
look so cool.
They do look pretty
I
cool.
want Panther Caruso. His thing.
Paint a fucking rose right on my
Yeah.
cockpit. Oh yeah, I'm gonna ask Crystal out to dinner.
Every second.
That definitely happens in Star Fox Assault.
Yeah. So
Constantly.
besides that, I bought some games from Game Craze because they had like a sale. I haven't played them yet. I bought Beautiful Joe 2 because I've never played the sequel. I love Beautiful Joe 1. I
Is that
bought
for GameCube then?
yeah. I bought Mega Man Battle Network Transmission, which is like it's part of the Battle Network series, but it's like a platformer, a 2D platformer. They're kind of mixing the styles.
Uh-huh.
It's cell shaded. I've heard some. I haven't played it since I was a kid because I just rented it from Blockbuster. But I played like an hour of it, and holy fuck, the two first boss battles are incredibly brutal. I lost against the first one, which took me about 15 minutes to get to from the start of the game, and I had to start the whole game over after I got a game over,
That's not it.
cutscenes and all. It was pretty tough.
Damn.
So I might revisit that sometime in the future.
Maybe when you're older.
Yeah. No, because then I'll get worse.
True.
Who knows?
True. Good point.
And I told Greg about this, but I bought a Little King Story
Woo!
because Greg's been, playing that up for a while, and I'm excited to see how it plays, especially after we've been playing Pikmin because it's kind of a similar genre. So, Will, you been doing anything sweet lately?
I definitely have.
Always.
Quick preface to this: I moved out of my house and I moved into an apartment in a neighboring town. And I just recently bought like a stand and got all of my video game systems set up on it. So I took them out of their boxes and stuff and got them all set up. And I've really just been going through and like not actually playing anything, but just like putting in what I, saw on my bookshelf right next to it and slapping it in. And,
Games.
oh yeah, my old GameCube games, my Sega Dreamcast games.
You still have your Sega Dreamcast?
Oh, of course I do. Yeah, my my roommate and I a couple nights ago got super drunk and slapped in WWF
God.
Yeah.
wrestling game
Yes.
WWF onto my Sega Dreamcast and played
Yes.
that.
What was that game you used to like love playing? It was like Army something. It was like
Toy Commander?
Yeah, that was it.
Toy
That was
Commander,
it.
that is another great game that I should play a little bit more of, but I actually
Game is
haven't
really
put in.
good.
But what I have been playing, except for Pikmin, the only other thing I've been doing with my life, other than that, is Rayman 2.
Oh, actually, so sorry to interrupt you, but actually,
No, you're really not interrupting because I haven't started yet.
okay,
So.
well, I 2-3 years ago I went through and played Rayman Legends. I didn't play Origins. I played Rayman Legends, and that was the first Rayman game I ever played. And I actually love that game. It's considered one of my favorite 2D platformers. And ever since I've wanted to go back and play some of the Raymans.
I've literally never played any of them except for Rayman 2,
Mm-hmm.
and from what I understand,
I heard Rayman 2's
that's critically the one that everybody's
Yeah.
this is the one.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think
I mean, the newer ones also got a lot of praise, but based on
Yeah.
the older Rayman, that's
Yeah,
the best.
The
one.
new ones are really good.
when I
Yeah.
played it as a kid, I barely got through it, and I think I gave up at one point. I guess I just didn't really enjoy it. I guess I wasn't a big platform player as a kid, and I think now as I've gotten older and
Branched out a little.
yeah, my horizons have broadened. I think that that's something I'm a lot more interested in.
I have a question. Are there lives in Rayman 2? Or is it just kind of when you die, you go to a checkpoint or something?
Yeah, you just go back to a
That's,
checkpoint.
okay, I didn't know if that was always a Rayman thing or what.
Yeah, so basic concept of this game is you're Rayman, who's this dude who's got a body and hands and feet and a head and none of the appendages that connect those things. He's got weird ass ears. I have no idea what animal he's based after. Anybody?
I don't think he is based after an
Is he
animal.
just a made up character?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
All right. Well, anyway, so there's you're on this planet, and some nefarious evildoers destroy the core of the planet. Not the core, but the spiritual core or something.
No.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Destroyed
yeah.
our spirits.
I was heartbroken. So it blows up into these billion pieces, and they're called lums, golden lums.
Oh,
or
yeah, they're
something.
the little,
Yeah, they're
creature things.
Yeah, basically Navi, a million Navis
Yeah.
floating around everywhere. So you have to go and collect those throughout the levels, and there's other things too that you can get in the levels. Similar in a way to Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, it's a platformer where you collect
But
things.
it's a 2D platformer.
It's actually
No, it's
3D.
3D
Oh,
platformer.
okay.
Rayman 2 was
the
the
first
yeah,
games were
was the
3D
first one that
platformers.
was a 3D platformer, which is cool.
Interesting.
So yeah, the camera's behind your back, and controls are pretty
hover?
simple. It's third person over the shoulder. You run around. You've got a energy blast
have
that you
the-
can shoot out of your hand.
It's yeah, doesn't he wind up or no?
Well, he can charge them
Oh,
up at
okay.
later levels, but
Gotcha.
yeah, he kind of just throws these little baseballs of light, and that's what you throw at your enemies. And your enemies are robotic space pirates that I'm pretty sure Metroid Prime must have stolen, or vice versa. They're robotic pirates, but not cool space pirates the way that you think of Metroid. They literally are steampunk robots, but with traditional pirate garb on. So they've got
Nice.
hook earrings and bandanas, and some of them have peg legs on their robot bodies. It doesn't make any sense, but it's pretty cool. The levels are designed in a way that are very easy to beat, but not easy to master. I mean, there's a lot of little secret things, a lot of hidden things, and there's a lot of replayability because the levels for being linear are surprisingly open. So if you think of a linear straight level, it's very broad.
Does it branch or?
I don't think there's any branching paths, but just imagine a straight linear level, but it's just wider.
Right.
So you can go kind of a lot of different directions. There's parts where it gets narrower and then wider, but it's really cool, and I think it's something that. Don't quote me on this. Anybody listening that knows the answer to this is gonna be super upset when I say this, but I can't think of a predecessor game that a 3D kind of game platformer that had that ability of not just to beat the level you have to go in a straight line in the straight thing. You really can just go on the wall on all the way to the left if you want to. And it doesn't make it easier or harder. It's just it makes it feel a little bit more adventure-y and a little less scripted, which is cool.
Right.
It kind of reminds me of Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah,
I don't really know when.
it's similar to Crash Bandicoot.
I don't really know that much about Rayman besides the new games, so I don't know when that came out.
Crash Bandicoot
But I wanna
came
say
out-
Rayman?
Yeah.
The original Rayman was PlayStation 2, was like N64 PlayStation 2.
Yeah,
and
the
PlayStation.
original Crash Bandicoot came out
PSX, though.
before the original.
the
Definitely,
original,
definitely
original
before Rayman
Crash
2.
was PlayStation, right?
Yeah, it's
or
PSX.
PS1, yeah. So, the level designs are cool. I really like the environments. You've got this dramatic shift between the levels, which is pretty standard for platformers of the era. But it's nice because it's not like your standard, like, this is the swamp level, and this is the water level, and this is the,
Ice
industrial
level.
level. This is the ice level.
this
This
is
is
the
the
Dinosaur
forest
Planet
level.
level.
This is Dinosaur Planet. Exactly. It's got a lot of different combinations of things. Like there's a grass level or like a forest level. But of course, the pirates, who are robots, are polluting the forest. So as you're traversing through it, you can like run across these pipes that are like dumping all this gross liquid into the forest. And it's just little touches like that I think makes the game cool. I haven't beaten it yet. I don't think I've ever actually beaten it because I didn't beat it as a kid. I'm considerably better at it now than I was when I was a kid. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. It's been a lot of fun, and I can't play any game that doesn't have some sort of nostalgia factor, it seems. So that's cool.
That's why we picked Pikmin.
Yeah.
Fuck new experiences.
Yeah, no, those are overrated.
Change is scary.
Yeah, change is so scary. Never move out of your house. It's terrifying. No, just kidding. It's actually great.
Have you guys played a game that's come out this year?
No.
Let's come out this year?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, so you played Monster Hunter. I know that
Yeah.
for a fact.
I was gonna say I love
That's-
Monster Hunter. I've
forgot.
also when I was at school I played Bloodborne, which I
Oh.
loved a lot.
Does
and-
Madden 16 count?
No, that comes out next year.
No. But, like, it doesn't, though. I played it, like, the other day.
What about Kirby Triple Deluxe?
That came out like 2 years ago.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's old as hell. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, there's a bunch. I've also played a little bit of Metal Gear,
There's none. I haven't. I've not done that.
And Until
Except for
Dawn.
Madden 16.
which I'm very upset that I don't have a PlayStation right now.
Nice. You do, though.
PS4.
Fair enough.
So I can't play Until Dawn or Bloodborne.
Dude, nice. Buy one.
Bloodborne looks cool.
Bloodborne's so cool.
As a fan of...
I love the Soul series, but this is the
Souls,
first
yeah.
one I haven't been able to like access, and it makes me.
Oh, there it
All
is.
right. Well, I think that's
Oh,
a pretty
right.
good segue.
Well, we can wrap it
The
up
best
here,
that we're
I think.
ever gonna get into our next section. So join us after the break, and we're gonna be talking about Pikmin in depth.
In the first Pikmin game, there are 30 ship parts, but only 25 of these are required to beat the game. Out of these next 4 parts, which one is not required to beat the game? Is it A, the positron generator, B, the radiation canopy, C, Olimar's secret safe, or D, Libra? If you guessed C, secret safe, then congratulations, you are correct. You already know more about Captain Olimar's ship than he does. Good luck on your adventures. See you after the break. Hello, welcome back to the second segment of our podcast. This time we'll be talking about Pikmin as our topic.
This time we'll be talking about Pikmin!
So, starting off, I guess we'll first describe what Pikmin is.
Yeah, it's probably a good jumping off point.
It is. So Pikmin is a game, it came out early GameCube, I think.
Why do we have to preface everything we say with it's a game? Like, we
Sometimes we don't talk about
like
games.
maybe we should say like it's a movie or it's a manga or if it's a
Yeah.
TV show, but I feel
Make
like
sure
everything
people are
else should be
listening.
generally assumed that we are talking about a
Actually, a
game.
tabletop board game.
We did an in-depth review on Monopoly.
Where you control Pikmin
Sounds
from
amazing.
Smash Brothers. No, actually, Pikmin was one of the first GameCube games to ever come out.
Makes sense.
I think I read somewhere it was like the 5th or 4th game for the system or something like that,
Wow.
which is crazy.
Sounds about right.
And it also, despite being like a new IP that was really exciting at the time, it got vastly overshadowed by coming out on the same day as Super Smash Bros. Melee. So,
That was probably a terrible marketing idea in hindsight.
I don't know why they do that sometimes.
Why would they ever
I don't know, they
release
took a chance
two
on it. It
first
was-
like first party?
Well, they did it last year with Super Smash Bros. And Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire.
but like for
Same
why?
day. I don't know.
I don't know.
Raking all that money on one day.
No, but like you're not. You're just
It
you're
was kind of,
combating
like,
yourself.
Two separate, like...
With Burke's example, though, those are two very established
That's true.
things, so they can.
But it was really
they
funny because
expect
I went to the
everybody.
midnight release and obviously, literally, there's 2 people, me and one other person getting Smash Bros. And there's like 15 to 16 people getting Pokemon. It was insane.
Pokemon is technically bigger than Smash Bros. by sales.
Yeah, I don't know how
More
well
people have a
those
3DS
sold.
than a
Yeah,
Wii
that's
U.
true. That's also very true.
Yeah,
There you go.
I guess maybe with that being cross-platform, they didn't think that it would blow one thing out of the water in compared
And
to the other.
that was
because
like
they're
around
hey,
the
you
time
know.
where like games started actually coming out for the Wii U for first party developers.
So a game came out and people were like, "Yeah, let's buy this." Let's
So,
purchase this.
back to
yeah, we're
Pikmin.
way away from Pikmin.
Back to
that.
Pikmin. So, early GameCube game, one of the people that kind of headed and pushed it forward, Shigeru Miyamoto.
Miyamoto was the executive producer, and
Yeah.
it was directed. I always forget his name, but the man who was credited with creating Yoshi,
I don't
he
know
was
his
the
name.
lead director on the game,
Yeah.
and he did a good job, really good job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that before we dive into Pikmin itself, what we're talking about right now, I've always respected Nintendo's ability to just not go with, like, what works. And they do use what works, but they don't overuse it. They don't get to a point where, you know, you just don't want to play the game anymore. And, you know, it's the 12th iteration of it. Nothing feels different. And I do respect that Nintendo as a company and Shigeru Miyamoto and everybody there really wants to make something new every couple of years. Something new and weird. And like,
Yeah.
you pitch the game Pikmin at a sales meeting without it being made, without anybody, showing it. And you're talking about it being one of the, original IPs to launch the new console. And like anywhere else, they'd laugh you out of the boardroom. But at Nintendo, they look at things like that and they're like, awesome, that's a fresh idea. That's something new that we can do something with, which I think is really, really cool.
That's true. And they're doing that again recently with all the new IPs that they've brought
Exactly.
this year. So, yeah, Pikmin. It was a very interesting idea at the time. Never seen anything like it.
No, definitely gameplay wise,
It
pretty
was-
Definitely brand new for Nintendo.
Nintendo's
Yeah.
first quote-unquote real-time strategy.
Are we
if
going
you
to
would
call
call
this
it.
a real-time strategy?
I don't know.
I
It's
know.
sort of in the same vein, but
Well,
I don't want to call it like an actual
Well, when we
real-time
talk
strategy.
about the
Comparing it to
battle system, like the way that
StarCraft.
you fight, I feel like we could probably get into
But it's
that. But
it's sort of a strategy that takes place in real time.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of meta with like the way that you have the Pikmin attack
Mhm.
creatures. But anyway,
It's like StarCraft with raid bosses.
basic rundown of Pikmin. You're this character named Olimar, and
Captain
you're
Olimar.
Captain Olimar. You're flying your spaceship, and it
The
gets
SS
smoked by a
Dolphin.
meteor. Yeah, the SS Dolphin.
The animation looked so. I
Yeah, it
personally
looks-
thought it looked sort of janky.
It looks a little
Yeah.
janky, a little dated, but it's still cool.
It's
So
jank.
he gets smoked by a meteor, and his ship crashes on this planet.
PNF 404.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
You can just insert
AKA
all the names
Earth.
for me. AKA Weird Earth.
Thank you, Encyclopedia.
So, Olimar, his ship blows up into
So 30 parts.
30 different parts that are scattered all over the world.
Oh.
And his ship is now sitting pretty much useless, laying there. He's crashed. He's only got 30 days life support, and he can't breathe the atmosphere. he stumbles upon this thing called an onion, which is basically, imagine an onion with a propeller on top, and then it's got 3 legs. And he finds a little seed, a little red seed that comes out of it, and he pulls it out of the ground, and what do you know? It's a red Pikmin. So he discovers this. He calls them.
It's
Pikmin.
interesting because when he gets there, like, he names all the things on the planet.
The whole game is told sort of in like a journal entry kind of way.
It's told through like a space log journal, kind of like old space opera kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's a play on it, and it's really charming, I think.
I think it is too.
I thought it was really well done.
If you've never seen it, it is very cartoony, stylized. Everything feels very animated, I guess would be the best way to put it. Not cell shaded, but just like animated.
No. So yeah, that's the basic story.
Yeah, what was your guys' like first impression when you first got off the SS Dolphin?
I had in the first no idea what was happening. I was totally lost.
First, like what I do with most games, I try out my buttons, see what does what.
I don't remember. Did none of the buttons actually like do anything in the very beginning?
When you first start, throw doesn't do anything. The whistle works.
I mean, you could still operate the camera controls, which were kind of like odd at first. It took some getting used to, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you really get the feeling like, oh, well, I got till sundown. You have 30 days to find all 30 parts of your ship, and each day is timed. You have to like finish up all your activities on that part of the planet by sundown, because that's when all the predators come out.
Yeah. Right. Basic mechanics of the game are you get the Pikmin, you get red ones, you get yellow ones, you get blue ones, and they all have their own individual onion, a red, a blue, and a yellow one. And they have different features. The red ones are a little tougher, can fight more. The blue ones can go in water. And the yellow ones are lighter and you can throw them farther and are pretty much useless.
I wouldn't say that.
A general mechanic is they follow you around and you can hit the X button and freeze them all and they won't go anywhere. Or you can hit the B button, which gives you this kind of whistle, which gives you like an area of effect that affects them, and then they all follow you, and then you can hit the A button to throw them, and they'll protect you and defend you, and you can also use the C stick.
The most important thing is the C stick to command them about.
Yeah, you can move them within a radius around you, and you kind of use that to have them attack enemies while you're throwing them on top of enemies.
So I think this is a perfect point to mention that you 3 have played the GameCube version. I actually played the Wii version, which added a few new things, including there's no C-stick.
Yeah, so translate everything that I just said into Wii U controls.
It's very different controls for sure.
Which worked like really well, I thought, honestly.
Yeah, it probably works better.
Yeah.
Some things of the Wii version changed to like after they had like a couple years to reflect on the game, that they went back and took some of the criticism. Yeah, there's some changes to some of the little parts of it. Like one of the most improved changes is that you can go back to any part of the previous days. Time you in the GameCube, you can only go back one save. With this in the Wii one, you can go back to whatever day.
Well, you can only go back to the last saved you did. So you have the option to save between days. Do you have that option in the GameCube version?
No, yes. You can
at
save
the end of every
days,
day. You can save or not save.
Okay,
it's up to you.
The Wii one looked like, at least from what I understood, you can only go back to the last saved, but is there an actual button in the menu for the GameCube that says revert to last saved, or no? There's not? Okay, that's in the Wii one. It's straight in the menu. It literally just says, would you like to go back to the last save, or something like that. Return to last save.
To explain why that mechanic would be important, obviously you have 30 days to find your 30 ship pieces, and you can only go to one. There's a lot of different areas in the game that you unlock as you go. Yeah, I think there's 5 total.
There's 5 total areas,
and each area has a number of parts hidden within it. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you go to one and you gamble on that one, and that's the one that you're going to go to, and you have a totally unproductive day and a bunch of your Pikmin die or whatever, you're able to kind of go back and say, okay, maybe I shouldn't have gone to that area today. Maybe I should have gone to a different one.
Yeah.
Which is why that save mechanic is kind of important.
Yeah, I think it'd be productive to break down this analysis maybe into parts.
Yeah.
So we already kind of covered the story and the whole concept of the game.
So do we want to cover how like the game plays per stage?
I think gameplay would be a good
gameplay. I think would be like the big one to talk about, and we already kind of touched up upon the presentation. I think we could go more in depth into that.
Yeah. Honestly, I wasn't a big fan of the presentation. I thought it looked like ass. especially the textures. So I have an idea around this. The Wii version actually has it stretched, so that might add to its assery.
That would 100% add to its assery, as you so eloquently put it. Because I noticed that when I was playing it, I have a rather larger, older TV, and I did notice that there's a fair bit of like fuzziness and kind of tearing,
especially
at the
to like
corners.
especially on like grass
I
textures.
mean, it's an
and
older
stuff.
game. We just said, I mean, it's one of the first games that ever came out. For
I know,
the
but I was
GameCube.
surprised because I mean, even Luigi's Mansion I thought looked better than it.
I think there's a lot less going on in Luigi's Mansion.
That's also true.
I thought the
There's
game
a
looked
lot
great.
of individual stuff going on. I think when the game came out, it looked really, really
I
great.
still think it looks good.
I
don't
can
think it looks
still
bad.
handle the way that it looks. I did notice there is a little bit of screen tearing on the sides.
Yeah.
Might be my TV, might be the fact that you're playing it on the Wii
I also thought the
version.
textures were a little blurred at points.
But I can say
which
for certain, I
also
agree
could
with
be.
Jaeger that I think when the game came out, it looked super cool. And
It also
looked
could
good.
be that I played Pikmin 3 and the game looks fucking
Gorgeous.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
it's
but you're-
insane how
You're
good
comparing
Pikmin 3
apples to
I
oranges.
know.
I mean, come on.
That's true.
You're
it's-
comparing like apples to like mechanically crafted GMO apples that were made 7 years later.
Fair enough.
That will add
Perfected.
5 years to your life in one bite.
So yeah, at first I struggled a little with the presentation of it. I thought that actually I think the best looking thing in the game was the Pikmin and the enemies, like how
Yeah.
they looked.
A lot
The
of
character
detail
models
on them.
are really great. Everything
The
looks
character
really
designs
good.
Are
Like
pretty
the
interesting.
interactable objects are really good. Yeah, I'm blown away just by like the creativity of everything about the game.
Yeah, it's an incredible.
The enemy
creative
designs, just the designs of every character in general is
Yeah, they're
awesome.
all pretty interesting and unique.
There's a lot. You could tell they really like they pitched something, went back to the drawing board, and just kept refining it until they were satisfied with it. The enemies are all unique and varied. It really brought together the sense that you were exploring an ecosystem because
Yeah.
there'd be like
Yeah.
there'd be a blowhog or like a bullborb or like a certain type of enemy in one area, and then on a different part of the area, like you go to like a watery part of the level, it's adapted to survive. There's a different kind but the same enemy,
A
kind
similar,
of like in real life.
Yeah, exactly. And another cool thing that I really liked about the enemies that you hit the nail on the head by saying it felt like an ecosystem, because there's a multitude of enemies, and it's cool because most of the things that aren't Olimar and Pikmin are hostile, but
Mhm.
there are some things
Some are not.
that aren't
That
hostile
run away from you.
that run away from you. Fish run away from you. There's a
Yeah.
couple things that, to kind of dive into the mechanics, your Pikmin are, not to say expendable, but you're gonna lose some as you go.
Oh, I lost
So,
many Pikmin.
oh yeah, no, you lose a lot.
In the last world, I lost a ton.
So
Really?
you store,
Well, that's what I didn't lose that many.
you store your Pikmin inside of the onions at night. That's where they go into, and they kind of fly up into the atmosphere with you to like spend the night and not get eaten by all the nighttime predators. And the way that you get more Pikmin is either getting these little like pellets, which give you 1 or 2 or maybe 5, or the bigger
10
ones
or
are 20 or
20,
30 or something. Or
And the thing to go along with pellets is they're all color coded. So
Yep.
if you have a yellow pellet and you get it by yellow Pikmin, which is done by getting a majority of the Pikmin carrying it to be yellow, you get, I think it's like maybe 20% more Pikmin. So you get,
yeah, it's 20% more for,
20,
if you get the
25%.
color of the pellets right. And to give an idea, so a little tiny pellet, all the items that you pick up that can be then brought to the onion and basically get sucked up by it, and then it produces a number of Pikmin of that
Seeds,
color
yeah.
seeds for you that you can then pull out of the ground. To give you an idea, all of the things that you do, all the things that you pick up have like a weight value basically, and it might be 1 or 5 or 10 or 15 or 20, and that number represents how many minimum Pikmin you need on the item to pick it up and carry it.
I actually have a question about that. So does it, for the GameCube version, is it color coded? Like if there's a certain amount of yellow, if there's a lot of yellow Pikmin coloring it, will the number be yellow?
I don't remember the number colors, but
No,
I don't think so.
they're
Because
all
that's, I
red.
think, how it did it in the Wii one. I heard that it adapted it from Pikmin 2, which I haven't played, but
I don't
apparently
think
that's
it
how
does,
it was
yeah.
done to tell you like what onion they were carrying it to.
Right, and that's important
well,
because
that one, it kind of explains in the game. Like when it's sundown happens and you go up to your spaceship, like it gives you like little tutorial blurbs in between,
Yeah.
like it's space journal, and one of them does go over that. Like if you have like 50 blue guys on one, and there's like I don't know, 10 red guys on it too, they're gonna carry it to the blue one because there's more blue guys.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying it like specifically color codes it to let you know in case it's like
It
6
does
to
not do
4,
that in the GameCube version.
where you can like maybe not tell the difference.
Right. And the amount of the one
Or
that
if it
it's
was like
taking
1
to,
and 1 and it's like 50-50 up in the air, it
Right.
tells you which one is going to take it to.
The reason that the onion that it takes your Pikmin take it to is important is because maybe if you're low on blue Pikmin or yellow Pikmin or red Pikmin or whatever, you carry the enemies, they'll pick up the enemies that they just slaughtered for you, bring them to their onion, and then that will be used to create more seeds. And obviously
Right.
the bigger enemies will give you more seeds. So if you defeat a really large bulb orb or a handful of them or one of the bosses, there's a lot of really cool bosses in the game too that are not just hey, you get a ton of Pikmin and just throw it at this thing. There's a lot of
there's actually
problem
a lot of
solving.
It's
fun
a lot
behind
of
it.
strategies. Like every enemy, there's a certain way to tackle them efficiently,
Yeah,
which I
there
thought
is.
was very cool. There's so many mechanics in this game going on at once that it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on and there's a lot of ways to be better at it, but it never felt at any point, it didn't feel overwhelming.
No.
It didn't feel hard. I mean, there were parts that were hard, but it didn't feel hard, if that makes any
Swamp
sense.
level or what it was.
There's difficult sections,
So
but
big.
you, by the point that they show up, you have the skills and you have the ability to handle them. And when you beat them, you know that they were hard, but you were able to beat it, and you feel good about that. You feel like you really accomplished something in that game. The
Right.
game feels, there's something so cool about, like, when you find a part of your ship somewhere that you didn't think you were going to come across, you beat a whole bunch of enemies, and then the other side, you find a part of your ship, you send your Pikmin over there, they pick it up, they carry it back, and your spaceship does this like suction noise thing, and it sucks it up into it, and then you actually get to watch as your ship gets better and better and more repaired. It goes from being this rusted hunk of junk with no cockpit, no radar, and everything's falling off it, and then like slowly but surely it like gets back into being a spaceship.
So going back to Pikmin mechanics real quick, there's 2 things I wanted to mention real quick. One, that you can only have 100 Pikmin out at a time. And that includes Pikmin in the ground as well as Pikmin walking around.
Correct.
So
That does
that's
not
something
mean you can
gotta
only
keep-
have a maximum of 100 Pikmin. You can
Yeah.
have as many as you want in the
Yeah.
onions. You can only have 100
out in
following
the
you at a
area
time.
with you. And that also brings me to the other part, which is Pikmin in the ground. I did not know it was a mechanic that if you leave the Pikmin in the ground longer, they like bloom.
They
Yeah.
bloom, and they can survive overnight if they're
They
in
can.
the ground.
And also, they could survive area to area. So if you have a bunch of Pikmin in the first area, you go to the second area, do a bunch of stuff there, go back to the first area, those Pikmin will still be in the ground.
Yep.
They'll be fully bloomed
And
because
they-
it's been a couple days.
To explain the blooming, they start with leaves on their heads. After a while, the leaves turn to buds, and then obviously the buds turn to flowers. With the flowers, they get a little boost in speed, a little boost in strength, and a little boost in health for all of them. And obviously, those are important. Speed is really important
Oh,
because
yeah.
as
That's
you're
the biggest
running,
one.
you'll see your
Oh,
fully
so
bloomed
annoying.
Pikmin with flowers on their heads follow you your every move, and they're right behind you. And the ones with buds on their heads are pretty close. The ones with leaves, which is
Oh, they
obviously
fall
what you
behind so
start with,
quickly.
seems pretty normal when you have a whole troop of guys with leaves. But when most of them have flowers or buds, and there's some guys with leaves on their heads, they're so slow.
Oh, I
they
would
get
lose
caught
so many
behind
leaf ones behind a
corners.
corner. Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, and then eventually, so there's 2 different like statuses of the Pikmin. There's active, fully colored, red, yellow, blue, and they're following you, or they're doing some command you've given them. And then there's frozen, and they turn like a pale hue of
And
the
they
color
kind
that
of
they were.
lax on their side with
Yeah,
their
and-
arm up and like relaxing.
Yeah, and they just kind of hang out. That's like their stationary mode, so you can tell them to stay somewhere. When you throw your Pikmin, wherever they land, they will turn into like static mode, and they'll stay right there.
unless there's something around.
Unless there's something around, like an enemy or
That was
something
that's
you
a
get to.
really important technique to learn is to not only swarming, which is if you have like a bunch of Pikmin falling behind you, if you kind of run like at an enemy and they overlap him, they'll swarm into him and start like beating him up and ganging up, or getting around an enemy and pressing X to dismiss them all, then they'll all just gang up on them.
Yeah.
It became a vital technique to learn to defeating certain enemies.
Yeah, because the beginning levels are not super tricky. They feel pretty comfortable, and you're pretty cozy, if you will, with them after you're there for a little while. But it's cool because even though the first couple levels are a little bit of a walkthrough and teach you how to do things, or the first 2 that I could think of,
The second one I thought was a
crash
little bit more
site.
challenging.
Yeah, the
was
second one, I
pretty
mean,
much-
Oh,
it's
sorry, you're talking about the crash site and Forest of Hope?
Forest of Hope, yeah. And then it turns into the Forest Naval, which is a
yeah.
lot more serious.
And then, I don't even remember, it's like something wetlands or something like that.
Yeah.
And the final test or
but
something like that.
if you dilly-dally too much and don't really get into it, like, you'll have fallen behind on your days. So you've got 30 days and 30 ship pieces, and you don't have to find a ship piece a day, but
wanna
you do
average
by
out
the end
to
of it.
hopefully
Exactly,
that.
right.
Well, actually, I looked it up. You only need 25.
You
Yeah,
do
there's
only need
5
25.
optional pieces.
And it actually shows you at the very end which ones are optional.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell there's like context clues of which ones are optional. Like if you stumble upon a piece called UV lamp,
Yeah.
or like things that are just or massage
Yeah,
chair
massage
that are
chair.
just for like
Geiger
Captain
counter.
Olamar's luxury, you can kind of tell that not all the
I
pieces are
also
necessary.
wonder why Captain Olimar is a captain, since he doesn't know what like half of his ship parts do.
He says when you
Nah,
find the
that's
Geiger
fine.
counter, which is obviously to find radiation, that's what a Geiger counter does. The text reads something like, I have a Geiger counter. Like, oh, look, my Geiger counter. I don't know what it does. Every once in a while, I'll just be flying
Yeah,
along,
yeah.
and it'll go crazy and make a whole bunch of noise, and
I
it
just
gets
choose to
annoying, so I
ignore
turn it off.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
Well, okay. First of all, it's okay. That's a problem. But knowing the rest of his ship's parts, like, you don't have to know it. He's not an engineer. He just
knows
flying
about like
the thing.
none of the parts.
Yeah, I
though.
drive a
think it's
car,
so
and I'm not a
funny. That's
mechanic.
true.
Well, yeah, so you know some of the
It's
stuff
like the
about
only
your
stuff
car.
he actually knows is like the optional stuff.
You know,
Yeah,
to turn on
there's-
like the massage chair.
Yeah, the
the
massage
There's,
chair.
there's-
I can identify
Captain's-
with
The
Captain
most
Olimar.
useless
Jesus.
item, and I think his entire ship is called the something bolt.
The extraordinary,
Extraordinary bolt,
Yeah.
and he just describes how this salesman
Yeah,
sold
it's
him
pretty
this
good.
bolt, and it's literally a big ass piece of metal.
Yeah,
and
he's
that's
like,
it.
I don't know what it does, but the person said it was really
It's pretty
extraordinary.
He
extraordinary.
said
and
like
it's very
only
expensive.
collectors will understand.
Yeah.
My favorite one was definitely the Nova Blaster, because I just love the idea that Captain Olimar has access to a beam powerful enough to destroy stars, and he's just like, I guess it can do
Yeah,
that.
it's optional.
He's like, I don't know if
Like,
if it
it's
really
so
will
funny.
shoot through us. He says like the salesman told me that it'll rip through space time, but I don't know if I believe him.
Yeah, it really made me appreciate, like,
It really
besides...
did. I thought the writing was really well done overall.
I just thought it was really charming
It
because the
was.
only exposure I've had to Olimar besides the actual franchise is Smash Brothers, and I wasn't really a big fan. I just thought he was just kind of weird. But I definitely have a bigger insight into his character. You learn a lot of not really surprising, like, this isn't the best written work of literature I've ever seen, but it's charming and it's funny and it's kind of cute.
It is, and as Olimar being the only
and there's like
narrative and the only
surprisingly
real
touching.
Yeah, he's really kind of the only real character, visceral character that you see and you know. And when you brought that up, we were talking about useless items, or not useless items, but items that are not essential to
There's
you
only
escaping.
25 that are essential.
There's one that he does find that's called like hollow tape player or something like that. And he's like, oh, this is like something that I used to watch videos on or something. And it seems like it's another one of those.
Yeah.
This is a Nova Blaster. This is a massage chair. But then at the end, he says something like,
those are both optional.
right.
Okay.
It's actually totally like literally useless. Like you don't need a massage chair in your rocket if you're trying to escape. But then at the end of the one where he's talking about the holotape player, he says, like, my son gave it to me, and he gave me a bunch of videos of like him and like my wife on or something. And then he says something like, they must really miss me.
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw that, I mean, like, I wasn't moved and brought to tears, but I was like, hey, like, that was really nice. That was touching. That was, gave
a lot
Olimar
of
some
cool-
depth.
So
That
one
was
thing
cool.
I really liked we talked about the journal entries, and this kind of goes along with the writing, is as you see the journal writings progress, I saw more towards the beginning, it was him kind of like cataloging what was going on, and towards the end it was sort of him, in a way, talking about his family. There's a couple where he talked about losing hope and how he didn't think he was going to see him again.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of like he even like opens up the universe
you can
a
actually
little bit.
see him progress along this thing of, oh wow,
as
I'm
he
on
gets
this
closer
new
and
world.
closer to
This is
his
cool.
life support running
Yeah.
out, and he's not sure if he's really gonna make it and actually
Yeah.
escape and all this sort of stuff. As you find items, essential items like the cockpit is really important. There's the radar, which I'll get to in 1 second. Your engine, stuff like that obviously your spaceship needs for you to escape. He makes comments about it as it goes, because obviously all this shit blew off your spaceship and landed here on the planet. He says stuff about the one that I can think of is on the cockpit. He says I better double check it for cracks, because if there's a crack in there, like this, like, I'm never going to be able to leave. So even as you find parts and you feel really like, oh man, I found this part and I got it back to my ship, he'll make some sort of comment about it that kind of reminds you, like, this isn't a sure thing. Like, you might find all the pieces and you might, like, get them all on and take off, but, like, you're on a crashed, you crashed on a planet. Like, your ship is badly damaged, and I think that those little moments kind of gave me a little bit more depth and meat to the story of it being like, this is actually serious. Like, Olimar, like, might not make it off the planet. The radar is really important. It's one of the first things that you can and should find. It's like the second thing you find. When you go onto your mini-map, obviously this game has a mini-map and gives you an overview of the area, it'll put a star where a piece is, where a ship piece is on the map, which is really vital.
Yeah. It's definitely the most vital ship piece to recover.
Hands down. Yeah. Definitely not the extraordinary bolt. Mostly that radar.
I always liked the massage chair.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
He talks about, like, how he's been, like, his back's been in so much pain from all these nights without it, and he can't wait to get back to his ship or whatever. This is also my first experience with Olimar, too, because even though I played Pikmin 3, there's 3 different characters in that one, being Elf, Brittany, and Charlie, who are all kind of not... I don't know, I like Olimar way better than them, I think.
Yeah, I think...
They all have different personalities, but in a way, all of them are complete assholes.
Yeah, I think Olimar he's a lovable doof kind of guy. Like, he seems a little goofy, and he seems a little silly and preoccupied with things, but like you were saying, you do see you do see the progression. You kind of like fall for him, and you're rooting for him, even though you're playing as him, but he's his own character. And as when he starts to make those comments about, like, maybe the ship's hull is cracked and, like, maybe I'm not going to see my family again, you're kind of like, oh man, like you really want it to work out. Like, you really want to help him get off the planet, which I think is not something that is commonly attempted to bond the gamer and the character that you play as, but not always done as efficiently as I think Olimar is in Pikmin. Because I was smitten and sold on him almost immediately,
Yeah, and it's certainly by the help of those journals, which give you kind of like a personal look into what's going on in their head. Yeah,
and it's cool because, I mean, you play throughout the day, and you're doing all this stuff, and you kind of have to game plan. Like, you're going to go to this planet, you're like, okay, like, I can't just screw around and, like, after you get at least 100 Pikmin, you kind of have to, like, if you really want to get it done, you have to have some Pikmin doing something somewhere, and you got to be somewhere else. Like, you can't just stand there with, 50 Pikmin do some... There's one thing I didn't mention about the gameplay is all the items that you pick up have, like, weight limits or whatever. They have weight minimums. They also have weight maximums, and obviously the more Pikmin you have on it, the faster you can transport something. But if it's 30, you can only have 50, and if it's 1, you only need 2, and if it's 5, you can only have 15 or whatever it is. So you kind of have to, like, get some Pikmin doing something and get some Pikmin doing other things, and, like, you kind of have to, move it along. And then when you're done with the day and you kind of go up to space and you see them, like, floating around, you get to, read all the journal entries, and it gives you all this data readouts about, like, your activity, your progress through the day. It's just a really nice, like, go, stop and review and plan, and then go back to the planet, like, start the next day.
And it was also, going back to that, it was also interesting that I actually learned a bunch of stuff from the journal entries that I didn't know before. One, the game doesn't really tell you anything about what the Pikmin do until those journal entries. Playing Pikmin before, I obviously know the fire ones are going to be fire resistant. I didn't learn about that till, like, day 15 or something in the journal entry. So I think that's interesting because it allows for, like, some experimentation. Like, you would throw a blue one on there and it'd burn up. You'd throw a yellow one on there, it'd burn up. You'd throw a red one on there, it'd be perfectly fine. So in that aspect, I think it's kind of like you should try and figure these things out yourself, but if not, down the road, it's okay. We'll tell you what's going on. Just so
which is nice because it's there. I mean, it's there and it's available, but it's not shoved down your throat to the point where you feel like you have
tells you at the very beginning what
anything.
They do. Right?
Exactly right.
So, question for you guys. So I know we've gotten to care about Olimar through journal entries, but the Pikmin themselves, do you feel like...
I care about them way more.
I care about the Pikmin immensely.
Oh my god, I was gonna bring this up. The way this game handles the death of these Pikmin, it's all... Like the first time I left
It
the
really
area
makes
and I
you
forgot
not
like
wanna-
5 Pikmin out in the road, and like you see that cutscene when they run up when you're like flying away in your spaceship, and they're like, "Oh shit, you left me behind," and the predators come and just brutally eat them.
Yeah, they
I was like, "Holy shit!" Like what? Oh my god!
That to me is
It was
amazing how
crazy.
they do
Yeah,
that.
that is really well. It's like it gives you sort of like a ghost animation that's really like shrillish shriek. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
well,
every
another
time
thing
makes me
along
feel
that
bad.
is like with the journal entries, some of them, like, I remember when I first got the yellow Pikmin, my journal entry was like, I used, like, when I threw some of the bombs in the actual level, I accidentally, like, left some
Oh,
there, and
yeah,
they
I
blew
Yellow
themselves
I
Pikmin
got
up.
can
that
pick
one
up
too.
little
no.
bomb
They
rocks,
talk about
basically.
how
Yeah.
he
Well-
specifically accidentally like dropped a bomb in the
Yeah.
middle of
Yep.
a bunch of Pikmin.
Where he's
talks
like, I
about
need to
how he
coordinate
lost-
this better so this
Yeah.
doesn't happen again.
I need to review my like log or my
Yeah.
notes,
Yeah.
and he says something like, "The look on their face, that
Yeah.
last look on their face
Yeah.
before
like, it
they were
haunts me every
incinerated
night or
haunts
something."
me, or is burned into my memory."
Yeah, Jesus
I remember
Christ.
reading that and being like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
the
it was
Pikmin,
ridiculous.
At the end cutscene of every day, when you go up, like you were saying, yeah, they will run over there, and
If the Pikmin
alien
aren't in the area or you aren't in control of them,
Yeah,
they'll
if
try
they're not
and
in
rush
your
up to the
landing
ship.
zone, then they get left behind.
They'll try to
again.
rush up to the ship only to see you fly off, and then a bunch
and
of
they
like
get
Bulborbs
eaten
will
by
come eat you or
by one
something.
of the enemies. But if you manage to get all of your Pikmin up, and what I found is that at the end of the day, you can have all your Pikmin out with you, and then when the day ends, all of your Pikmin will automatically go up
Yeah, they
into the onions
as
you
long
end.
as they're in the area or under your control.
As I found, I like to kind of like once I wrap everything up, take like a couple extra seconds that I wouldn't want to be risking doing something that's far away anyway and risking losing anybody. I get everybody back into their
Oh, that's
onions.
what I did too.
And then it gives you a number like this is how many Pikmin you have under your control, and then there's another number right next to it which says this is how many Pikmin you have in the field.
Yeah.
So you get all of as many as you can back up into the thing, and obviously you can only send ones into the onion that are under your control.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'll do that, and then it'll say you have 0 Pikmin under your control, and you have 3 Pikmin in the field.
And then
You
you
hit
look
the
on
menu,
map.
you
Yep.
can find them on the
Yep.
menu, and then you just take those last 20, 30 seconds or minute or whatever
Yep.
it is, and you just run around, grab all your Pikmin, and it's not super important. You've got a couple hundred of each of them. Like, it's not vital, but it definitely... There's
Feels
a
better.
lot, yeah, it feels better. Like,
Yeah.
when you get all your Pikmin, and that countdown starts, and you get everybody in your ships, and you all hop in there, and you ride up to the fucking moon.
Everybody
It's
is
so
safe.
cool.
My first experience with that was one of the first days I accidentally left like 20 Pikmin behind, and they got massacred. So from then on, I was like, all right, from now on, I'm putting every single person back in their onion before I jump into
So
space.
actually, along those same lines, I was playing today, and I got everybody there, and I was looking at my phone, and everybody was under my control. We were standing right in the in the middle of the thing, right in the middle of our landing zone, and everything was fine. I only had like 20, 30 Pikmin out at that moment. I set my controller on my leg. I reached to find my phone, which had fallen into my seat cushion somewhere. So I reached back to pick it up, and my controller slipped off my leg, and what do you know it falls on the X button, which is the, like, freeze all the Pikmin and put them not under your control.
Uh-huh.
As the countdown was going, so it landed on the ground, and I didn't think anything of it, but I heard the noise, and I was still looking for my phone, and it was like, I realized what had happened, that I had all these Pikmin sitting out, that this countdown went down, Olimar's just standing there, I would have just gotten in my ship, they would have taken off and gotten eaten. So I, like, scrambled, reached down, like, started slapping the shit out of my controller, and, like, I hit the whistle button, the call button, and got all of them back, like, as it ticked to 0.
Wow.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
close call. But the fact that, like, that happened, and when I realized it, I wasn't like, whatever, I got, like, hundreds of those, I think that shows some real, like, ties to the
Yeah,
Pikmin
certainly.
as characters.
Well, it's also like they're your tools. Like, you need them to advance in
True.
the game.
Right, that's true, but I think, like, it definitely
It's a
is that
conservation.
it
thing.
leans more towards, like, your emotional
I
connection.
personally, I
'Cause
personally
I
felt
had,
like
like,
it was more.
I
I
had
personally felt more towards
200
emotional-
plus
Oh, yeah.
of every Pikmin in
At
each
the end,
onion.
I had like 400 red, 300 blue, and
yeah, I didn't
30
care about
Jesus.
30 of them. Yeah, I was
I did
stocked
not
up.
have nearly that many.
Yeah, so I think
I
that
had so many more of the other Pikmin.
there's definitely a lot of, like, instant connection between Olimar, Olimar and the Pikmin, you and Olimar, you and the Pikmin.
And even the
like,
Pikmin and the enemies. I mean, Olimar talks about in the journals again how the Pikmin, he's not sure if he's using the Pikmin or the Pikmin are using him to advance the predator line, or like the food chain.
Right.
Because they're kind of like the very bottom and they're getting eaten.
And they've been orchestrated
using
and kind of...
Olimar's brain, they can take down like all these predators and stuff.
It's a symbiotic relationship, or at least he
Yeah.
questions it, sort of.
Yeah.
So let's move on to talk about. You guys want to talk about? There's two things I wanted to touch up on.
I was
the
gonna
actual
ask-
areas
Okay.
and some of
That's-
the I don't want to say bosses, but like some of the more challenging and diverse enemies that don't show up as much. That I thought were like you actually had to think about how to beat them. More
Let's
than
go over the
others.
areas real quick. That makes the most sense. And between the bosses, I was going to ask about like if you guys had game plans or whatever when you went into each area.
Sure, there was one. I think
I
there's
meant,
like
like, the-
5 that I wanted to talk about that
the
I thought were
area?
unique.
The areas?
Not the areas, but the bosses. But yeah,
Oh,
let's
yeah,
talk
sure.
about the areas. So the impact site, that's your place where, after you get the first part or whatever, you primarily, I used it to come back to restock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because at the end of the area, there are pearls that if you get them and bring them back, that's 50.
Is it? Okay. I was wondering, because I only went back at the very end and I got those pearls and I was like, wow, that gives you a lot.
Yeah, it's 50 per Pikmin. Or per pearl, sorry.
Yeah.
The only trade-off is that all the areas have a handful of parts, but the crash site only
has
has
2.
two.
Yeah.
So you can't really go back there, get the pearls, and be getting parts. You kind of have to commit to going back
Right.
there to restock,
Yeah.
and kind of
So, yeah,
losing.
it served as a really good introduction. Gave you your red Pikmins, showed you what's what,
Showed you
how to pick, how to get your
how to
pellets.
use your Pikmin to do things like push that box at the very
Yeah,
beginning.
so great. Not too much more to talk
Yeah.
about there. You can keep coming back to it and restocking. That's
Yeah.
one of the most important things, I thought. And then there's the Forest of Hope.
Very
Which,
tranquil place.
yeah, great.
Music's-
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about the
Dun,
music.
dun,
The
dun,
music's
dun.
great.
Oh yeah,
in
music
all the
rules.
areas.
I wasn't a big fan of the music.
I like this.
Stage Select and Forest of Hope, I felt, and the final test. Besides that, I can't even remember really the Forest Naval or the other music. Honestly, I don't
The Forest
know
Naval?
what it's called. Yeah, I don't remember what the Forest Naval sounded like.
Oh, it's like a jungly kind of
It's more like a cave feeling.
cave-ish. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought the music, like to me, it made the atmosphere pop even more and made it
Yeah,
more
I-
believable.
It certainly did
thought
with
so,
me on
too.
the Forest of Hope.
Definitely great music all around, I'd say. And yeah, Forest of Hope is definitely a shining track, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the Forest of Hope. We could talk. Let's do this. We could talk about like
Each
specific
one.
enemies in that place, maybe that you thought were like memorable or cool.
Sure.
I mean, I would obviously go right towards the
Bulbor.
Bulbor.
The Bulbor
I
is
mean,
like
that's
the
kind of
most
like
iconic.
the
enemy.
iconic
Yeah.
enemy. They're like two-legged. They kind of look like a mushroom on their
Yeah, they're on the
back.
cover.
They have
Yeah,
the
they're on the
small ones, they
cover.
have the big ones, they have the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Big
interesting
ones,
because
small
they're
ones,
like
some as big.
they're
as your head.
nocturnal, but only the big ones are. Like when
Yeah.
they're children or they're dwarved ones, they are active all the time. But the big ones are sleeping and will only attack you when provoked.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
But the big ones give a pretty big reward if you get them to your onion and get some Pikmin from it, which is kind of what you were talking about, the swarming thing. You get like a whole ton of Pikmin. You get them all over there. You wait for them all to catch up, and you kind of use the C-stick to rotate them all onto there. And then what I do is I like bring a whole bunch of them to swarm on them. And then if you really, really want to kill them quickly before they have a chance to do anything, you toss a couple onto their head. That like makes their life go down super quick, and then you can kind of use them.
Actually, so that's how I planned it out at first, but after a while, I saw that, like, I was losing a bunch of Pikmin because I would have, like, 30 or 40, and I'd just throw a bunch at it, and I would lose track of some. And
You only have to throw like a couple.
towards the end of the game, I was only taking 5 in at a time to fight a Bulborb. That way I'd ensure that I lost 0 Pikmin. Because I would just throw them when he did, like, the shake move. Right before he did the shake move, I
Whistle.
would call them back.
Yeah.
And then I would have all 5 and be like, okay, here's the 5. Get behind him again. Throw him. Because you don't want to throw him straight in his face. They'll knock him down and just eat him instantly.
yeah, for the Bulborbs especially, I always just tried to get them from the back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then once you get enough on them, like he can't do anything. You kind of stun lock your enemies if you swarm them. If you have like, I don't know, towards the end of the game, I had like 50 blues on a yellow frog type enemy, and when the swamp levels, like he
And
can't
it-
even jump anymore
yeah,
if
and
you
it
have
just
too many
holds him
on them.
down, yeah.
Like their strength is in numbers, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, Forest of Hope. a good introductory level for like an actual level.
Yeah.
There's 10 parts? 8 parts?
I want to say
between 10 or 8 parts.
Let me see.
You that's your introduction to the yellow Pikmin. A
Yeah,
thing about the Pikmin designs I thought were just like kind of like
How they all
just
had
really
different
neat.
aspects to them.
Yeah, it was like the red ones had big pointy noses, yellow ones had
Why did
big
they not-
ears.
Was there like a reason the yellow ones had big ears, or was it because they? I don't know. Was
Was
there
that to
a reason, or was
insinuate
it just?
lightness?
I don't know.
I don't know, just each one had a distinguishing feature.
Because
Like
the
the
blue
blue ones just
obviously
had mouths.
gills.
They had mouths too.
And they had gills, which obviously.
I mean, you
they
can't
breathe
see them
underwater.
though. Like the
Yeah.
physical features, like they had a mouth. The yellow ones had ears. The red ones had nose.
Yeah.
They all had eyes.
Pretty standard facial feature kind of like
it's
trilogy
I
of
don't know.
things. It's pretty
creative.
nice.
I liked it. Very clever.
I don't think there's a correlation though between their face.
I was just
their
wondering.
Yeah, I don't think so. Either.
No, but I mean eyes, nose, ears. Like it's
Yeah.
a pretty standard trinity.
Yeah, it's a
human-esque
clever design quirk
characteristics.
that I liked.
Yeah.
And I'm correct me if I'm wrong about this. I think this is an enemy that's in the Forest of Hope, but you don't
Please
really
don't
get
talk
it
to
until
me about
later.
it. Please don't talk to me about it.
Oh.
You're gonna bring up the fucking burrowing snatches?
Yes.
Fuck those
I gotta say
things.
that
Oh,
was
Those
an
are-
enemy
when
that I got
came
to
out of
that
the
was
ground
very
when it
difficult.
started. I was like,
I was like,
whoa.
oh shit, I'm
so
done.
one came out of the ground. I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty good." And then like 2 more came out and ate all of my pick. And I was like, "Oh, yep." Start at the beginning of the day.
Yeah. So let me paint a visual picture for you listeners out there. It's basically a snake.
Yeah.
It's got these hard scales, but the top of its head is like a seagull. I want to say almost.
Yeah, like a stork kind of thing.
Yeah, and they're terrifying.
It's got like the long beak. And
They're
it pecks the
huge.
Pikmin up.
They're huge and intimidating, and you really have to
they're
experiment
called
around.
the burrowing snaggets.
Yeah, you really have to experiment to defeat them. The key to beating them is like when you see the ground rustle before they're about to pop up. I got all my Pikmin in a crowd over it, pressed X. And so when they popped up, they all get on his head. And when he'd raise higher and higher, he had no Pikmin to go and eat. And they were
Right.
all on his head, and they were
Yeah.
just beating on him.
That makes sense.
And that's the key to beating them. And
Yeah.
a lot of times in the game, you'll find that huge, like these boss-type enemies have swallowed a piece of Olimar's ship. So you need, like the star marker on your map will be on an enemy. So you
Yeah.
need to
The
defeat
snake
them.
at the end of the Forest of Hope
Mm-hmm.
on the other side
Yeah,
of the
the
bridge.
Snagrets. They were definitely one of the more
that's
ruthless.
what those are called?
Yeah, they're called the burrowing
I didn't know that.
snaggets.
I was thinking of something else.
Yeah,
Oh,
in
you think of
in a
the
ye old
Armor Beetle,
Nintendo
whatever it's
tradition,
called.
at the end of the game during the credits, it shows all the enemies
does,
and their
yeah.
names, kind of like a Donkey Kong
does.
Country.
I did not know that.
So yeah, the Snagrets, very formidable. Okay, so moving on from the Forest of Hope, the next
Well,
area.
there's also that. Oh, were we going to talk about like all the enemies in this area too?
Just the unique ones.
So the one aspect I really liked about the Forest of Hope is that it was very diverse in the sense that there was water areas, there was areas where you had to use a bunch of yellow Pikmin to jump up onto a ledge to do whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of forced you to come back and experience all these different things.
Yeah, there were certain
at
areas you
once.
couldn't unlock until you got all the colors of the Pikmin,
Yeah.
and by the third area, you have all the colors.
Yeah, exactly. And so the other enemy, I don't remember what it's called. It was like the armored beetle something or whatever.
Yeah, the armored beetle. It was a beetle that the only way to defeat him is when he started his suction move. Like he would suck in, like
Armored cannon beetle.
Yeah, he would suck in and inhale, and then shoot out a big cannonball. So what you want to do is when he sucks in, you want to clog up the hole with your Pikmin,
It was funny. I actually messed up the first time. I just started throwing Pikmin at him, and
and he just
sucked up.
bulldozed.
No, he sucked up as I was throwing Pikmin. He sucked one in, and I was like, "Oh, interesting. That's how you do it." So I literally just threw a bunch
Burke
of Pikmin
throws
at him
and then asks questions later.
yeah.
So when he sucks
Essentially.
it up, he overheats, so he has to open up his wings, and he exposes his
I have a
weak
question.
point.
Can you only use red Pikmin on that part? I didn't try anything else.
No,
Oh,
you can
okay.
do whatever.
I didn't know if it was like an actual like
I mean,
hot bulb or something.
When I think about it, I really only fought them with red ones because it was
Yeah.
circumstantial. But I imagine you can use any other ones.
No, I fought it with blue ones because the only way to get up there is through that little
Yeah,
pass. They have to be in
yeah.
the water. I went up there and I just hammered them with blue dudes. 'Cause blue
the
dudes
thing
are my
about
favorite.
Really? The thing about blue dudes that I don't really like is I feel like they're the weakest in terms of fighting.
It could be. I'm not really sure though. They didn't really mention any of that in the game.
At
so I
least
don't
based
know.
on what I saw.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, not sure either.
but
That would
let's,
take some
let's,
research.
Speaking of blues, let's go to the Forest Naple, I believe it was called.
Naval.
Naval. Sorry.
Because
Um,
it looked like a belly button from space, so he called it the forest navel.
Yeah, very clever. So that's your introduction to blue Pikmin and the Pikmin that can survive in water. It's a very interesting level. I really like that level. It's got like a big beach for you to really utilize and explore the capabilities of your blue Pikmin, but it's also like a big cave. And there's a lot of cool little areas. There's like a side area that's got like
cute.
your first exposure to bridges, which you have to use your Pikmin to build and cross. And that part of the level actually kind of like showed you that you need all three kinds to advance through certain parts. And then another part of that level I really liked, which caused me my first and like only death in the game,
Really?
was against there's like a drop off like mushroomy area
Yeah.
where you fight this giant mushroom monster.
It's like called the spore.
The puff or something.
Yeah.
Puff something. And basically what you want to do is you want to trip him up so he falls and then you like wail on him. But when he gets back up, and I didn't know this because my first time playing, and he shoots out these big spores. And when they touch your Pikmin, they turn them into purple Pikmin.
Yeah, and they fight
and they
you.
go and start attacking Olimar.
Yeah.
I was swarmed immediately, and all 50 of my Pikmin got turned into it. And they came and like stun locked me until I died. Like once you get in that swarm, you can't win.
A whole legion of Benedict Arnold's.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is I found I didn't carry like that many Pikmin around when I went to battle, like I mentioned before. I'd carry around like 20 max. So that
No, I
part
took a
didn't screw
bunch,
me
like-
over as much. Like I said, I tried to carry as few as possible to minimize casualties.
I always brought a bunch, like if I knew the area, because I'd be like, all right, I'll have like some of these guys do this one, and I'll have some of these guys do that one.
Right.
And a lot of the like fun I had with it is like, I always tried to beat the clock and doing more than I probably should in a day. Like if I got 2, and I'd be like, man, if I do it again, I bet if I do this part more efficiently, I could get that third part and cut down my days.
Yeah.
So I'd start over. And a lot of the fun and challenge for that, like those were my favorite parts of the game.
Actually, how I went about each area was, at the very beginning of the area, I would just carry around like 20 to 30 red Pikmin and just kill all of the enemies at the very beginning. And then I'd spend like the second or third day collecting everything, now that all the enemies were dead, even though they respawn after like 4 days.
Yeah, the enemies actually did use the day mechanic, and a lot of, they were spawn after a certain amount of days, which is
So that's
cool.
personally how I did it. I just cleared out the whole area,
Yeah.
so that way I can just toss Pikmin onto something and be
Just
like,
the
"All right,
vast
you
amount of
just do
mechanics in the game allowed for like a lot of different plays, because like I didn't play that way. Maybe Will played a different way. We all probably played like somewhat different ways, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of versatility to
Yeah.
the way that you could use Pikmin, because
Or
there was
even, like, the
obviously
order you
strengths
collect
and
stuff in.
weaknesses. Yeah, but you kind of got to forge your own path through it, if you will, and make up your own like best practices of way of like being efficient and getting through the days.
Right.
Which was really cool.
And so the water area, the naval, cool area. I like the beach. How like there was like this big water thing going on, but the beach was full of enemies that shoot fire.
Oh, wait, what are you talking about?
The blowhogs or whatever they're called. I'm just talking about the naval area.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was interesting.
There's like things that I don't remember, but they're like the black enemies that shoot fire like on the side of the beach. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were white, but yeah.
Are they?
The blowhogs, yeah. And they
Shit, I thought they were black.
and then the swamp
Red
area.
changed it. Maybe.
No, I think now that I think
I
about
don't
it,
think
they
so.
might be white.
But anyway, the next area, the swamp area, which I don't really remember what it's called. It's like
It was
swamp
called
or something.
the Distant Spring.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That level was interesting because it reintroduced 2 big enemies, but in different ways. It had bull bears, which are different versions of the bulborbs. They're black and red.
Back to sorry, we didn't mention the boss in whatever.
In the naval,
Yeah.
wasn't it the puffing fish or the puffer?
It was
mushroom?
it was the puff shroom or whatever it's called. It was also the skitty longleg.
No,
or
the beady
something?
longleg.
Beady longleg.
Oh yeah, that was a very interesting
that was
boss
my
too.
first boss encounter.
Oh, okay. See, mine was definitely the armored beetle.
Really?
Yeah.
That was actually
Yeah,
like,
that's
one
kind of
the
the first
later
one that
ones.
I ran into too.
And then I saw the mushroom, and then I saw Beady.
Yeah.
And Beady was interesting because you really needed to utilize your yellow Pikmin.
ones. Yeah, that was the
because
first
you can
time I
throw them
actually, like,
higher.
yeah, and you could just throw them right into like his
Yeah,
little
and that
sack or
becomes
whatever it
a
is.
mechanic, like a bunch in the game, where you need to throw yellow ones at higher areas.
Really, I only saw it a couple times.
They use it later in the game to recover parts, so you can't get them with any other Pikmin. And like the swamp area introduced, well, at least I know it was in the other sections of the game, but I really only used it in the swamp area, where the different flowers that would change your
that
Pikmin
was
into
the only
different
time I
colored
used it
types.
too. Because there's one
one part you need to use it.
There's one part where you have to turn your blue into yellow, and then your yellow up onto the ledge to pull something down, and then
change
turn them
back
into
blue.
blue so they can get across the water.
It's very interesting that I didn't know like what they did until that part of the game. So that like we've mentioned many times before, there's just so many mechanics going on in this game. There's probably some that we haven't even mentioned, like little minor ones, like when your flower Pikmin die if they're left out in the field, like they sprout seeds and you can go pick them up later. Like it's just cool stuff like that.
Which becomes incredibly confusing when you're trying to figure out where all your Pikmin are, and it says that you've got 6 out somewhere, and you have no idea where, and then you find that they were flower ones that seeded during battle because they died.
Yeah, there's so much. And like the enemies, they're so varied and great, like in the ways they can harm you. Like some can just straight up eat you, some can like slam you back into the ground and make you a sprout.
I hate those things.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're
Even
called.
though Olimar doesn't actually do the
something.
battle himself, he kind of like
orchestrates
it. There's like, you have to be vigilant. You can't just be like, Pikmin, go. Like, you can do that with the first couple enemies, but I'm thinking of the ones that breathe fire in the Forest Navel.
Well, honestly,
and then they
those
blow
were one of the
air out and
those
blast your Pikmin off.
Those were one of the very few where I actually did say, all right, 7 red ones, go fight this thing, because they couldn't get caught on fire and just ran into it. The only time I had an issue with that was there was one near the water that would blow them into the water.
Right.
And that was
and those are the
time.
little kind of cool things that the game like has going for it. That I think makes it
every enemy has like a different
really dynamic
way to fight it.
You can fight them with Pikmin, but you'll any Pikmin, but you're gonna risk huge losses.
Right.
It's always an optimal way to do it.
Exactly, which is cool.
Yeah. Or multiple optimal ways.
Yeah.
As we've discussed.
So going back to the distant spring, did you guys ever figure out what was up with that egg?
What egg? I don't remember.
Oh, maybe so basically there's this egg on the distant spring. One day I went there and I sent a Pikmin over to see like, hey, what's up? And it hatched into this giant goo monster that left behind trails.
Oh yeah.
And then
I've never seen the egg form, but one time when I returned to the impact site to go get pearls, there was that goo monster. I'd never seen it before.
I think that might be maybe a different monster, because I actually read that different enemies spawned and like greater enemies spawned on different odd and even days.
Okay, that's totally possible, because when I was seeing the ending credits and they showed all the enemies, there were some that I've never seen before.
Yeah, same with me too.
Which I was like, cool. There's so much more in this game to explore that I didn't even see.
Replay value,
sort of. Yeah,
it's cool. But yeah, the distant spring was fun.
Distant Spring honestly was my least favorite, just because it was like I was a little overwhelmed by how much there was to do in there, and it's like so a little tidbit. This was actually the largest area in the game by far, to the point where it doesn't actually have so there are people that apparently like professionally speed run levels of Pikmin.
Sure. And
the Distant Spring actually doesn't have one because it changes almost week to week, because there's so many different ways you can do stuff, and there's no way to get a maximum amount of Pikmin in that game, in that area, because you can't reach every little part in one given day. Yeah. It's very cool. It definitely gave you a sense of progression. Like, all right, I conquered the Forest of Hope, conquered the Navel, and like now he's even a bigger place. Oh, so is that how you guys did it? Like, you pretty much did like everything in one area and then move on? Or... I jumped around, but sometimes you had to. At the very beginning, you have to until you get the blue ones. And then at the end, I kind of jumped back and forth, like, and maybe in between go fill up all my Pikmin at the impact site, which I did like twice maybe. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think maybe now let's bring it all home to the final area. What'd you guys think of the final trial? The final trial, you know, it was pretty standard fare. Not only was the boss at the end a good, like, boss, but the actual level, you had to use all 3 colors to advance to the boss. Yeah. So you had to the right side of the level was all about yellow Pikmin, the middle was all about the blues, and the left was all about the fires, or the reds. Oh, is this what this thing's called? The Smoky Prog? Yeah, that's an enemy I never actually saw in the game. That was the one I was talking about. It hatches from the eggs. I was just reading it up. It only appears in the first 15 days. Oh, okay, yeah, I never saw that. I saw it, and, like, it looks terrifying. It was. Can I see it? Yeah, sure. It's like, so basically it leaves behind these goo trails, and if the Pikmin get caught in the goo trails, they would instantly die. Yeah, it looks pretty terrifying, and I definitely hatches from this giant egg, and it just kind of storms, like, the beaches of... Why is it called the Lord of Pikmin? I don't know. That's kind of interesting. So yeah, final area.
I thought it was nicely challenging. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely the hardest part
really,
of the game was
really
the boss
put
fight for me.
all of
Really?
the skills
I
that
thought
you
the
would...
boss was the easiest boss in the game, personally. I
Oh,
lost
no way.
0 Pikmin on it.
I lost
How did you
tons.
How did you go about fighting him?
I would just go to the side of him, throw whatever on his face, call him off before he jumps or shakes him off, and then just rinse and repeat.
So how
Yeah, that's
I
what
did
I did
it
too.
is there are bombs on the upper area of there.
Yeah, I
If
never broke down that wall.
I did. If you get a yellow Pikmin and throw a bomb at it, when he sucks up, he'll suck up just the bomb, and that'll stun him for like 20 seconds. And I would just like throw like 30 red Pikmin on him and go to town, and I literally lost 0 Pikmin.
So
in the
you
boss
just
fight.
get a handful of yellows to hold bombs.
I would get like 5 yellows, hold bombs. When he turned at me, I would throw the yellow. He would suck up just the bomb, not the yellow, and then throw a bunch of Pikmin, red Pikmin on him, and they would just go away at him. And then when he got up, I'd call them back and then throw the yellow Pikmin.
That's probably why. I did what Jaeger did, and I also lost a shit
I
ton of
lost
Pikmin.
so many, and
Multiple.
a lot of, I won't say a lot of the reasons, but one thing that was like constantly frustrating, like having to go back and get more, but the camera, like constantly having to adjust L to like spin the camera so you get to the side of his face was really frustrating, especially since some of the arena gets caught in your foreground, you can't see anything. And you're just kind of like, fuck. Frustrating but rewarding, and I thought it was just funny that the last part that the Lord Bullbacks swallowed was Olimar's secret piggy bank. And then you had and he's like, yeah, maybe I'll take some of this money and buy some for my kids.
Yeah.
And
Get
it was
some
like, all right,
souvenirs on the
cool.
way home.
Yep.
The
So
end,
yeah.
So what did you guys think of like the sort of the ending of the game? I
What
thought
do you mean?
like the ending.
Like
the
after
ending
the
cutscene,
boss?
yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty standard.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
liked
it
it.
was-
It was a nice wrap up.
It was literally just
touching.
like it was like Olimar's like, all right guys, I'm leaving. The Pikmin were like, what? And he was like, all right guys, I'm leaving. And they're like, what? And he's like, all right, fuck you guys, and just like left.
I don't know if that's an accurate depiction of what exactly happened.
Fuck you guys.
He just kind of sighed and was like, and just like
Yeah.
left. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, I
And
don't
then
know. It's
they
fine.
like flew into space or something and followed him.
Yeah, well, the onions sit up in the space to like save themselves from the predators.
Yeah.
They chill in the atmosphere. So yeah, it was a good ending. I thought the last
Well,
level
we
was sweet.
actually got the good ending.
Good ending.
Yeah, there's 3 different endings.
Yeah.
Oh,
So there's the good ending, which is you collect all 30 pieces. There's the
Yeah.
normal ending, which is you collect 25 pieces. And the good ending also includes you see the Pikmin sort of tipping the food chain over at the very end.
oh
like,
yeah,
tap
they all
the ball
jump on a
board.
bullbacks. I thought that was kind of like, oh Jesus, like
yeah, I always thought that.
see
that
ya,
was,
Olimar, kill. Like,
Yeah.
he
always-
taught us how to kill.
Yeah, I always kind of saw that as like the Pikmin learn from Olimar, and
Yeah.
have now the power's in their hands.
I thought it
which
was funny,
cool.
like that one
Like,
bull
they
boss
helped
shows up.
Olimar
And he's like,
escape, and
"Hey, I wonder what
Olimar-
our Lord and Emperor is doing." Oh Jesus! Like, he just got killed by all these.
But yeah,
Pikmin.
I kind of liked that. That's why I liked the ending the most, was because it felt like the Pikmin helped Olimar escape the planet, and Olimar helped the Pikmin kind of turn the tables
Yeah.
on all the predators on the
Yeah,
planet.
so I haven't seen the normal ending, but apparently if you only get the 25 required things, you get the normal ending. And the bad ending is if you don't get those 25 things, where I don't know what happens.
I don't know.
Pretty sure
I didn't know there was different endings. I just
Pretty
got
sure
all 30.
Olimar's
Me too.
tries to take off with whatever
And he
parts
just,
that
like,
he has,
blows up.
and he blows up and it crashes,
Jesus,
and he
Christ.
dies.
That's
yeah,
pretty
I'm not
morbid.
making that
Awful.
up. That's actually what happened.
that's
so,
horrible.
Going on that, do any of you know what happens when you run out of like 30 days? Do you have to start all over again?
No,
Like,
when
Okay,
you
let's
run out of the-
have a follow up with that. How many days did it take you guys to complete the game?
26.
All right, it took me 20, I think.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like I said it
I
because
wanna
it
say
took me.
somewhere in there. I don't
It
know.
took because
It
like
was
whenever I would do a
24,
level,
25
if I
maybe.
wasn't satisfied, like I was like, okay, I could get that extra piece, I would like start over and go for it.
Oh, really?
So I started over
Jesus.
levels a lot, trying to go for the extra piece.
Did you
just
have to
for, like,
click reset on the actual GameCube?
No, you just turn it
yeah,
off.
you just press start, and you can go to your last save point.
Wow.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I really didn't actually do that.
Yeah, you get from the start menu, you can go to sundown automatically, or you could reset to your last save.
Yeah.
So
I
we-
use Sundown automatically. a
So what do you
bunch.
say we bring this all home here and talk about like our overall, just like,
Yeah, let's say
overall.
if you had to score it, like an objective score 1 to 10, what would you think you'd go for? Just a
Wants to
ballpark.
start.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I can honestly pick a score off the top of my head.
You're gonna have to.
Nah.
17.
Alright, yeah, that's a good number.
No,
1738.
honestly, playing this game after not
Yeah.
playing Pikmin 3 for 2
Yeah.
years, I forgot how much I actually liked Pikmin, and the fact that like it really made you think and learn all these different enemies. I had a lot of fun with it. I definitely want to go through and play Pikmin 2 since I heard
Yeah,
it
me
adds a lot
too,
of stuff
for
to
sure.
the what's it called? I really enjoyed it. It really rekindled my affection for Pikmin.
Yeah, definitely a really cool new IP that I wish I played when I was a kid, and
Yeah, me too.
it's just so unique from like any other game really that I've played recently, that it was refreshing and nice. And my problems with it are very nitpicky, very minute. I'm pretty sure they're actually solved on the Wii version,
How
probably.
so?
Just the control scheme in general.
The controls were still at sometimes a little wonky on the Wii.
Yeah.
Like the camera.
Like
got
my
a little
only
bit
really
used
big
to.
problems with it were like some of the camera issues and like how I would walk over certain areas and like some Pikmin would like clip through like a
Yeah.
bridge or something and drown and be like, oh, sorry,
Well,
buddy.
Did you guys?
R.I.P.
Did you guys have a button that you could push that made the Pikmin? I don't know if you.
You could hold the C stick down to make them go in like a straight
Yeah.
line.
Okay. That was the same thing.
So
except you
yeah,
can
the
point
C
them in
stick was
whatever
kind of
direction.
wonky too. Like it didn't always do what I wanted it to do, but like it was fine.
Yeah, in the Wii one, you could point where you wanted them to like make a line.
Yeah,
towards.
yeah. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure the new control play styles
The
like
camera was
improved.
still a little wonky. When you guys threw Pikmin, can you decide switch through the Pikmin while you were throwing one?
Oh, what do you mean? You're
Like
just-
if you had a red one in your hand and you wanted a blue one, could you push a button to swap that red one for a blue one?
I don't think so.
You could do that in the
I
Wii
never
one,
really
and it
had
really
that
confused
I
problem,
me.
think you can do that in the GameCube one.
I never really
Or
found
if you
a
wanted-
need to do that.
Or if you
though.
needed like a blue one, did you just need to like separate them all out?
Yeah, I
and
would just
take the
separate
blue
them.
ones?
Yeah,
I
it's
thought that
usually
was
what I
pretty
did,
quick.
too.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because like I said, for the last boss, when I did want a yellow one to throw at the last boss, I would just swap. I would have the red one in my hand, and I would keep
swap,
swapping
throw the yellow
until-
one, swap back to red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the last boss, I had like 100 Pikmin like waiting outside the arena, and I'd just take
Jesus.
20 in at a time and
Jesus.
just kind of go
Yeah.
at it.
I would say overall, I really liked it. I played it as a kid, and I didn't really get it, I guess, and I didn't really like enjoy it quite as much as I think I could have. And now playing it again, I really liked it. I think that Jaeger kind of summed up everything that I felt about it. It was refreshing. It was really nice to play something that was just so totally different than all of the normal stuff that I play. And I just really enjoyed having some sort of like that connection that you felt between you and the Pikmin and Olimar, and it's a really good game.
Right.
Like I think it's a really good game.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So-
guess like my final say on it would be like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. The gameplay was what I thought was my favorite part of the game. It was really refreshing. Like all the levels were a lot of fun and challenging. The amount of creativity behind the design of the game
I think
blows
that's
me away.
that's one of the best parts about it for me too. Yeah,
very
is-
I don't know if I
it
feel
is.
as strongly, I guess, about like the actual like yeah, the story was simple and fine. Omar's cute, Pikmin are cute, whatever. It was good. Little minor gripes with the camera and some of the control scheme for the GameCube.
I still had some camera controls, like I said. Or
yeah.
issues.
I think I
So
noticed them, but I just dealt with it.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't bother me.
Yeah,
I guess.
so it took me around, I want to say, 8 hours to complete the
That was
game,
about how much it took.
and
me
then
to-
I dedicated like another hour to like mess around in challenge mode,
I did
which
a
it was pretty
thing
fun
in
for like an hour.
challenge mode. Basically, if you don't know how challenge mode works,
It's
you
not really that important. Like you just go through the maps.
You choose
again.
a stage, and you get a whole day to collect as many Pikmin as you can,
Yeah.
and it pretty much gives you like top 5 of how far
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so I did like an hour of that maybe, and just was like, yeah, maybe I'll revisit it. And if I had to give it a score, like I know that the other Pikmin iteration games like improved and like capitalized upon some of the potential, so I could see like a lot of the potential in the game, and I think it could definitely be perfected upon,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they have. So I would give it somewhere between like 8.5 maybe.
Yeah, I was leaning right at
Mhm.
8.5
8.5,
actually.
yeah. That's my solid.
Really
point.
solid mechanics, creative, a lot of
Again, that's just like an
fun.
objective score. Like if we had to put down all the positives and negatives and like my actual like love, and like if I had to put on like a favorites list of like that year or something, it might be even higher. Like just like my favoritism of it. Like I said, like the creativity behind everything, like blows me away. Like most Nintendo things do.
So I have two things to say personally that I had some slight issues with. This one less so than the other, but I felt like the bosses were I felt like they took sort of like a back tone. Like, it was kind of just like, there's the boss just chilling.
Yeah, the
and you go and
bosses
fight it.
felt more of things that you discovered and not something that was like, this is the level, the boss is at the end of the level.
It wasn't like Zelda, like, here's the boss name, like, let's go. It was just kind of like, here's something like a big beast in the environment.
I was gonna say with Pikmin 3, it was sort of the same way where you had to discover them, but then they had their own little intro thing that was like, this thing's gonna wreck your day.
Yeah.
So the other thing I had was this game is really fucking buggy. Did you guys see any bugs? I saw like 6.
I would not say that it's very buggy
I
at
saw
all.
6 bugs in the 8 hours that I played.
I've seen vastly buggier games. Like, it's not even...
I would
thought
say
it was very
the
confident.
buggiest that I got to was just like the Pikmin's AI not being able to get around
it's just
the
bad
corner.
AI.
Yeah, that's not really buggy.
It's pretty much all I
had
ran into.
Instances where the enemy wouldn't attack. I had instances where Pikmin weren't appearing on the map.
Possible Wii.
It could
Yeah,
be.
that's immediately what I'm leaning towards.
could
You
be.
and I didn't see anything on the GameCube. You played it on the
I
Wii. That's
did.
kind
I
of...
don't
If I was a
remember
game
any-
tester, I would say there were virtually no bugs.
Yeah, it
I don't remember
sounds
any
like the
on the
common
GameCube.
denominator.
I mean,
I'll
there were
have to look
certain things
more
like the
into it.
skybox would like run out sometimes, but like that's just an older game
Skybox?
thing. Like you like turn too fast and like an edge of like the sky in the back would just like show black for a second. Like
Yeah.
that's just draw distance. Like
Right.
Yeah,
that.
fair
I
enough.
mean, that's just textures popping in.
Without doing any like further research into this, because that's
I thought
not really
maybe
our
it was
style,
the Wii, but I'd
it
have
kind of
to-
sounds like it's something on the Wii and not
It
so
could
much
be.
the GameCube. So
Yeah, I don't remember.
I
any
blame
bugs, major
Bert.
bugs.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
caused
it's
all
his
the
fault.
bugs.
Yeah. No, but I saw a shit ton of bugs. There was one where the whatever, the beady long legs literally just stood there and tanked me and did nothing. Just stood there. And I was like, alright. Threw a couple yellow Pikmin at you and he's like, you know what?
Not today.
Do what you want. I don't care.
all right, so I can say general consensus. We all like this game. It's a lot of fun. If you're gonna go get it, go
Great
get it on the
franchise.
GameCube. Don't get it on the Wii.
Actually, I had the
I
Wii
don't
one
know.
was rated a little better. Just because
Yeah, I feel like the controls are better, but like just do some do minimal research and like
Yeah.
just do your preference.
That's all we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
preference
much.
is kind
If
of
any.
fantastic. If you don't like motion controls,
So just
Yeah,
one
that's the
quick
big thing. If you don't like motion controls, stick with the
Yeah.
GameCube one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one quick
But it
thing.
is a lot more expensive and harder to find.
Is there anything really? The
Yeah.
Wii one? Or
No, the GameCube one.
Oh, okay.
GameCube one, the original.
No, the Wii
Exactly.
one's everywhere.
I got like the Wii one for $10.
Yeah.
But is there anything you guys want to see in the Pikmin 4?
Pikmin 4.
I can't really comment
If
on
they
it
can
'cause I
take
haven't
it to
played
a
Pikmin
next
2
level,
or
like
3.
past 3, like that's all I'm asking for. I don't want to, it's like with
I wouldn't-
anything in a franchise, like in Zelda. I don't want to, like, oh, okay, it's the Zelda formula, boring, whatever. Like, I want to see some innovation, so that's all.
So I think this is probably the big thing I want to see. So you have Pikmin, each Pikmin has their individual job.
Yeah.
I want to see an instance where you have to use 2 different types of Pikmin to accomplish
That could be interesting.
That's
They
a
haven't
good
done that.
idea.
to accomplish a goal. So it
Yeah.
could be like, we haven't gotten into it, but there's a flying Pikmin in later ones, and there's a
Yeah.
rock Pikmin.
Yeah.
Like maybe like you have a flying ones and the rock ones
There's like
go
an
together
enemy
and-
that like you have to break open its shell or something, and the Pikmin, it needs to be like dragged out of its shell by like a flying Pikmin or something.
Right, a combination of
interesting.
2
Makes sense.
Pikmin.
You got to have the rock ones weight something down while the other ones do something else.
Exactly.
That would be kind of cool. That is a good idea.
I wonder if there's going to be a 4th captain in the newest one. Because in Pikmin 1 there's 1, Pikmin 2 there's 2, and Pikmin 3 there's
I could-
3.
I
Maybe
could
there'll
also
be 4
see-
Bowsers on top of each
That
other.
could be.
I
like,
could also see
Magic Koopa.
possibly in the 4th
I'd like
one
to
an
see that.
enemy captain.
What?
An enemy captain.
That'd be really interesting. That
Be
sort
like
of reminds me of the Wonderful
Battle
101
Royale.
boy.
That'd be pretty dope.
Like, they both crash on the planet. It's like, I need to get the parts before he does.
That'd be really interesting.
Be
Aspect.
pretty, like, kind of, I don't know, a little too intense for Pikmin, I think.
Be like head to head multiplayer.
Like, by actively seeking these parts, I'm killing another person.
No, but you
That's
have,
too
like-
much to
Hey,
think
man,
about.
Or like,
the
or just
wild.
like a little, I guess, boss battle where you'd have to like duke your Pikmin out, and you could use like flying Pikmin to like rock Pikmin into the air and then like drop them so they're
Like
stunned in the
army
back or
battles.
something.
So what
Sort
you're
of.
saying is you want like a Clash of Clans Pikmin skin.
Yeah.
Starcraft.
Maybe.
StarCraft.
Go fight the enemy.
What I would really like to see, and I know this is asking a lot, but I'd like to see one cohesive world in Pikmin
One giant
with
world.
multiple landing points. I think that could be really cool.
I'm
like
sure
a
they
big
could do
open
it.
world.
Like a big open world with
That'd
Pikmin.
be interesting.
And you just have like a bunch of obstacles that I want to almost call it like Metroidvania style, where you could go to one area, collect a bunch of Pikmin, and then go back to another area that you were previously at and do something, and then that unlocks something else, which lets you go to a different place.
Right.
I think that would be really interesting, and I sort of, in a way, got that vibe in the very beginning of this Pikmin game, where you would get the blue Pikmin, and you'd be able to go back to places you haven't been, and even in later entries, where you'd be able to also be able to do that too. Also, more Pikmin. That'd be cool. I don't know what they do.
Always more. Yeah,
More,
there's
more.
a lot, because number 2 introduces white and purple, and then 3 introduces the flying and the rock.
Yeah, so I don't know what they do. Like, bomb Pikmin.
There are bombs.
Yeah.
Robot Pikmin.
Yeah. I
That
want
was
to see
also-
Olimar make Android.
That was
Pikmin.
also one of the interesting things that I thought they gave the yellow Pikmin was the fact that only they could lift bombs.
Yep.
That was so strange. Because at first I didn't understand that, because that's not like a thing
not a thing.
after Pikmin 1.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I can't speak to 2, but I know 3
I
can
like
use
that.
anybody.
Pikmin 2.
It's just a thing, like...
It's just to make them more valuable.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like
Like I said,
they were
it's
trying
just
to
like
balance.
it's balancing.
They were trying to balance the value.
like I
of
said, I
everybody.
literally had like 400 red, 300 blue, and like 50
Holy shit,
yellow.
You had so many. Like,
I-
the
like
max
I
I
s-
ever had was like maybe like 150.
Really? Like I
Yeah.
said, I didn't lose Pikmin a lot, so
Yeah,
I just kept
'cause
gaining
I mean,
them.
I didn't lose like the most Pikmin I ever lost was at the last boss, where I lost a shit ton.
Alright, I think that's a pretty good wrapping up point for today. I thought we had some good discussions, but just a few things before we go. First one being, the interlude playing today during today's trivia section was called Forest of Hope from Pikmin 1. Yeah. If you like what you heard here, you can follow us on Twitter, Guys of Their Games. Like us on Facebook, Guys of Their Games.
Check
Follow
out
us
our WordPress.
/
Check
WordPress.
out our Twitter at GuysATGames.
Yeah, if you want to hear anything like this again, or like have us play a game together, comment or something,
Yeah,
and we'll
tweet
try
us,
to do it.
comment on one of our websites. Will's working on a review.
I have been for
comment.
weeks.
We're getting our YouTube videos starting to roll soon, hopefully. And yeah, if you like what you heard here, feel free to leave us a rating on iTunes. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hopefully we'll see you next time. Peace.
Berg, wasn't there one time when you just wanted to play Salt? You're like,
I didn't realize how.
Oh,
rushed
it was
the
assault.
game
It was
Yeah.
assault that we got
It
all
was
of the S.
Ryan and I beat
All
the
the
entire
S
game
flags.
100%. Found
We
every
hate
We got all the
ourselves.
Namco flags.
Mike showed up and was like, "This is gay," and left. And then he
Yeah.
came back and he was like, "We
My
were still playing it
Still
hours
gay.
later," and
I-
he's like, "Still gay. I'm out of
No,
here."
I still remember what he said. He came down. He's like, "Oh, guys, you know it's like 85 degrees outside. You want to go outside?" And we're like, "Nah, Mike, we got to get all these flags."
We were like,
told
"Nah,
ourselves
dude,
we
outside's
would.
gay."
We told ourselves we would. He's like, "What do you get when you get all these flags?" We were like,
Nothing.
"We don't know." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna go home. See ya." And he just left.
nice.
It was beautiful.